Pues sí, sí. Oops. Okay. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. How is the siesta going? Hard? Okay, well, I see positive people. That's the spirit. Ben, how is the siesta going? Good over there? Team, how is the siesta going there? We're all good. Yeah, they have power. Well, so we're going to start this after this lunch break, and we're going to keep on rolling with our incredible speakers. And precisely, we are now going to take a little plane, and we're going to fly all the way to the Americas, and we're going to be talking about the current state of technology in the Americas. It's becoming increasingly more and more important geopolitical piece of the tech space globally. So it's really interesting to see what's going on there right now. And to talk about that, I want to welcome our next speakers. Starting with our first speaker. He's a oldie, he's been here forever, fantastic person. So please welcome the America's Managing Director for Microsoft for Startups. Big applause to Mariano Amartino. Thank you for joining. There you go. And to join him, I want to invite Federico Jack, investment partner at Mieling VC. Big applause for Fede, please. So we're doing the Argentinian gang here.
Yeah, that's the mafia.
And joining online through Zoom, I want to welcome our very dear friend, Laura Gonzalez, founder and CEO of The Venture City. Laura, do we have you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, there you go. Hopefully they're going to connect you. I mean, we can hear you, we cannot see you. Ah, there you are, Laura. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining. And to run the show, I want to welcome your fantastic moderator. So please, one final big applause to Juan Manuel Porcaro, Executive Director of the Argentinian Venture Capital Association. Big applause. Juanma, floor is yours. Gentlemen, enjoy.
Hello, how are you? Well, I would like to say something about this beautiful panel here today. Laura had been an entrepreneur and also has been the country manager of eBay and Facebook also. But nowadays she is a US-based, leading an early stage VC. On the other hand, here we have Fede. For those who had the privilege of participating yesterday in the Go Have Investor Day, you may know a lot of things about him, but I would like to say he's a serial killer entrepreneur, and nowadays he's a VC. And on the other hand, we have here Mariano, who may know him for leading Microsoft for Startups in the Americas. But actually, he's the father of the LATAM ecosystem.
Godfather.
He had been doing a lot of great work to boost the LATAM ecosystem. Okay, now, Laura, since 2019, we had seen that the top 5 companies are tech and had been based on venture capital. What do you think about LATAM, and if you think that we will see that also in LATAM countries?
Sure. So first of all, I would just like to say something about Mariano. Mariano not only was the father of the Latin American ecosystem, I think that Mariano did a lot for the Spanish companies from Spain, startups, back in the day. He had one of the most amazing blogs that I'm sure many of the people in the audience have read about, Hipertextual, and so many others. He really kind of like erased the frontiers of a Spanish-speaking country. So Mariano, take it. Anyway, so look, you know, the geography limitations are very old school. I'm sorry to say it that way. You know, entrepreneurs, we don't think with limits. You may be building an amazing company in, I don't know, in Godelleta, in Valencia, and from there you may be taking it to the rest of the world. You may be building an amazing company in Vancouver, Canada, and from there you're taking it all over the world, or in Córdoba, Argentina, and from there you're taking it to the end of the world. So the fact that I am building it here or in any of the sites in Atlantic doesn't mean today more or less success. And I want to leave this very, very clear, because if something this terrible pandemic has taught us is the fact that talent has no zip code, no código postal, okay? So you can have an amazing team, you can have team decentralized in many places all over the world, and you may be building the next big thing. So as an investor now, myself surrounded by a lot of other entrepreneurs that are investors now, we don't look into if you are based in, I don't know, Colombia, Bogota, or in Jacksonville, or in Chiva, you know, in Spain. I am more focused into how big is the problem you're trying to solve? Are you really onboarding the right talent to make it happen? And how ambitious are you? Do you just want to have all the people, potential users in Spain, potential customers in Spain, or are you thinking beyond the Spanish borders, right? So I think that it's what capital, and I am, even though I'm from Madrid, I am an American investor right now. This is what we're thinking. We're thinking about supporting those crazy entrepreneurs, ambitious, no frontier limited, that are thinking about building the next thing, no matter where they are. Did I respond to your question?
Thank you, Laura. Yes. By the end of 2021, we had in LATAM 50 unicorns. 48 unicorns were new since 2019, boosted mainly for the pandemic change of habits we have saw. So do you think, in this 2022, we are seeing like a decrease in the number of unicorns, you know? Do you think we are going to see new unicorns again? And what do you think has the LATAM entrepreneur to go through it, go through this winter, let's say? What do you think, Fede?
I think it's very hard to think that it's possible to repeat the amount of unicorns, not only in Latin America, but anywhere else, because, well, you like it or not, the macro environment and the higher interest rates affect the amount of capital that go into VC and the evaluations that these VCs are comfortable with. So most likely of the 48, you said? Probably there's 2 now that are unicorns, I think, being very optimistic. So I think that we are going back to a phase where it's going to be harder to build $1 billion companies, like maybe 10 years ago. I don't say it's impossible, but I think it's going to take longer, like it used to be, probably 7-10 years, instead of seeing companies go in 4 years to $1 billion valuation. I think it's a matter of multiples and how much people are willing to pay for the equity, is that.
Thank you, Fede. Mariano, what do you think is the role venture debt is going to play in this context?
Wait a minute, can we say something about the unicorns, Mariano
Sure.
and myself?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so I think there's a little bit of psychological nightmare behind the term unicorn. Let's talk about it from the founder's perspective. So people tend to think that the more money you raise, the more valuation your startup has, the better for the founder. But actually, most of the time, it's the opposite. The more money you raise, at the wrong valuation, probably too high, the more diluted as a founder you get. So by the time you get public or you exit, you have a small, tiny piece of what has taken you, blood, sweat, and tears to build. So I think that we are in the moment right now of the efficiency and the austere founders, which means you may not reach a unicorn valuation, but I'm sure that if you really keep into account the growth accounting of your company, the GAAP accounting of your company, and you run it with austerity, even though you don't get a unicorn valuation, you get a lot of money invested, right? So let's put both sides, of of the picture because investors tend to be very upset with having unicorns under their portfolios. And I think it's great when you have unicorns that have been very well built, founders have skin in the game, and everybody is very happy with it. But what has happened in the last years is that they were fluffy unicorns, right? With very inflated valuations at times, not always, but where the founders were missing a lot of the upside. So I think that is very important to put it into the table because all the founders that may be looking at you and all the investors that may be listening to us right now, they should agree that the more austere, the best run the companies are, if they reach unicorn valuation, that's great. But if they don't, it's also great.
Thank you, Aura, for sharing your reflection. And Mariano, what about venture debt? In this context.
No. I loved your eyes trying to remember. Well, I think that if we look at what Laura and Fede said, venture debt will play a role, a huge role, especially for the companies that took rounds at valuations that now they can't justify. So doing a down round is bad for everyone, especially for the team, for the talent that they want to retain. So I think that even if you don't like venture debt, it's a tool that nowadays might help them try to gain some time until they get the to try to see if they can get some sort of the older valuations back into game. No? But it could be super interesting to understand what Fede thinks about this as a finance guy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if especially U.S. companies and Europeans, when they have access to lines of credit and venture debt, it gives you more time before doing another equity round. So it's you have different options on the table. I would go with what Mariano says of it's going to be probably playing a bigger role now. But it's a different math. It has different terms to what we are used to. So it's going to be, I think, CFOs or controllers, VP of finance are going to be a little bit more important ahead, in the times ahead, maybe in next year or so. Yeah. It's not going to be as easy as, I wouldn't, for lack of a better word, as fast, I would say, to raise capital than it was 2020, 2021, I think.
Sure. And despite this winter and this global context, we can see global investors interested in LATAM. We can see we have a region of 620 million inhabitants that has 6.5 of the GDP global, but only represents 2.5 of the venture capital invested, in this context. What do you expect, Mariano, from LATAM for the next few years? Well, without
a doubt, there will always be money for good entrepreneurs and for good ideas. On the other hand, what's happening is short term, there's a lot of dry powder to spend, but long term, Latin America it's a region that has a lot of problems and a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs and for investors. If you look at how the macroeconomics and how the infrastructure works in US or Europe, in times of crisis, they try to solve the life of people super easy, and in LATAM it doesn't exist. So LATAM will be a fantastic playground for new startups and new ideas to grow. So I think that right now, early stage will be fantastic. Series B, maybe Series B and C will suffer a bit. And I think that Laura shares that. Yes. Laura, what are you seeing from Miami? Not sure if you share that. You're receiving a lot of talent, no?
Yes. If I think about the companies that we've invested, 30% of our companies were based in Latin America, and as Mariano was saying, one of the biggest countries in Latin America, Brazil, is going into elections this weekend. So we're all kind of like, okay, let's see what happens. So there is a geopolitical situation there in almost sadly every country that we need to factor in. Now, if I think about returns, the companies that are giving us the biggest returns are from Latin America. Latin America is always in crisis because it's not new to them. You know, the US lives in abundance. In Europe, North Europe, they've lived more in abundance, right? Spain, Portugal, you know, we are very austere. We know how to manage things. Extraordinary entrepreneurs, they know how to live with a little, right? So Latin America knows how to live and knows how to build with little. So I am very, very optimistic in the early stage, meaning as Mariana was saying, we do invest up to Series A and then we follow on in Series B. So we're very, very focused there, and I'm sure I am looking into amazing companies today in Latin America. Now, it's true that the biggest tickets, 25 million tickets, the 50 million tickets, the 100 million tickets, those that were led by outside Spain, Latin American countries, they're kind of like fading away a little bit to see what happens with the whole world situation. But on the other side, as we were saying before, there's facilities for venture debt that we didn't have before. So if you're running a good company, healthy, growing, you know, with a good monetization tactics and economics and unit economics, you're going to be able to now enter these venture debt facilities that were not available before. But if you're doing growth for the sake of growth, there's no clear value, no retention rates whatsoever, you're going to have a hard time in the next following months.
Good. You know, mainly we see startups from Argentina scaling up in Mexico, no? Is there any opportunity to scale to Europe? What challenges and opportunities can you imagine, Fede?
I think the normal roadmap is to go to either Colombia or Mexico, because those are a little bit more stable than Argentina or even bigger than Chile, and that makes sense. Usually entrepreneurs from LATAM decide to go to Brazil later because of the, I would say, language barrier. Yeah, I think Europe is not their first choice. After that, it's usually the US, once you have been prepared to compete. But I would see, I don't think it's crazy to think that maybe Spanish company wants to go to LATAM, where there's more connection with the language, with the culture. I haven't seen much of that, but I think it would be possible to see it the other way around. I wouldn't see it as crazy, you know, with all the stability you have in Spain and all the funds that you have here, all the people wanting to become entrepreneurs. I think, you know, it wouldn't be as hard as going to the US, where there's so much competition in every single sector. But there's so much that needs to be done in Latin America, and it's still a big market, that I would say the other way around. You know, it's not that many entrepreneurs of LATAM would choose Europe. They would probably continue trying to go for Series B and C in the US, like they normally do. But I would expect that some Spanish would decide to come to LATAM. I'm probably the only one that thinks that way.
Good. Mariano, which are the main verticals you can see going on in Latin America? And if you think they are working in digital transformation, or if you are seeing innovation, disruptive innovation?
Well, that's an interesting question, because there's a lot of things that are not disruptive innovation. It's just making things work. For instance, I mean, fintech will still be one of the hot verticals, but that's because of the lack of infrastructure over there. I don't see a new bank growing out of Spain, because you basically have all that solved here with BBVA or I don't know who is the sponsor here. If it's not BBVA, let's say Caixa or someone else. Yeah. So maybe, I mean, fintech will still be a huge part of the investment in the region, and I truly believe that cybersecurity, well, the deep tech, but I think that health and life sciences, it's a really good vertical. Then you have data and AI, which gets a lot of things, but data and AI in LATAM solving a lot of things with huge data sets that will be easily collected across different countries, and with 600 million people over there will be fantastic. But again, those are kind of easy to understand because there are a lot of unfulfilled needs in the market. And disruption, I'm not sure how I would define disruption, especially in all the things that we are seeing constantly. A lot of things on Web3, even when I hate that term, Web3 is doing a lot of things, and some useful applications of blockchain for mainly tracking of things.
Thank you, Mario.
Can I say something about disruption?
Yeah.
Yes, so there is this Valenciana, Ana Maikes. I'm sure you guys have met her. She's built an amazing company called Neuroelectrons, which basically is the power of the brain. I think that everything in neuroscience in the next following years is going to be extraordinary. And the fact that we have a Valenciana female founder, that is, by the way, Entrepreneur of the Year by Goldman Sachs as of last week. So there it goes to Ana. I think that is going to be very, very interesting to see.
We have 30 seconds to go, so I will ask my last question, and for the three of you, which are the main differences you can see between an entrepreneur in LATAM and in Europe? 2-3 words for... Yeah.
Lau, start.
Resilience, creativity, rock and roll. That's LATAM.
I don't know how to say this, but I think in LATAM you don't have many options, so you have to try to dream big. And so that would be ambition. What I see in Spain or Europe, what I've seen is it's a different mindset, I would say.
You have other elections, let's say.
Sorry?
You have other options.
Yeah, I don't see that people thinking that big. Normally it's, well, I ran out of time.
Grit, ya está. That's
Sorry.
it. Just one word. Grit. That's the difference. Grit.
See? I didn't know how to say it.
Yeah, I don't know, but grit is a nice word that sums up that difference of attitude. That's it.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, Laura.
I think Mariano is hired, right? We are going to hire Mariano. Are you sure you don't want to change? Sure? Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Big applause for them, please. Thank you so much. And thank you, Laura, who was over there. Goodbye, Laura. And we're moving back from Latin America and the interesting effects that are happening there with something that's also entirely connected. Like, we live in a world where geopolitics matter more and more. And obviously, I think I will make the understatement of the year if I said Europe is in flux. Stuff is happening in Europe. And our next panel is precisely going to be talking about that, about all the things that are happening and how tech fits into the picture. How can tech be used in these situations where you have high levels of uncertainty, high variation? And we have a stellar panel with people that I know personally, most of them, and they have extensive experience both using tech in hard situations and traveling around the place and seeing and talking with people all across the board. So I'm going to start calling our next panel because they're wonderful people, very talented people. So please give a bright applause to Egita Polanska, partner at Startup Wise Guys, all the way from Riga. Please, big applause for Egita. Thank you very much. If someone knows what's going on, it's them, that they're pretty much close. To join Egita, I want to welcome our dear, beloved friend, Mike Arias, General Partner of the Lead Wind Fund at K-Fund. Big applause for Mike.
Hello.
Thank you, Miguel. And to join them, our one and only local resident that has a lot of experience on the ground seeing how this looks like from the other side, please welcome Margarita Albors, founder and president at the Social Nest Foundation. And to run the show, someone that has been involved with tech for years, that knows refugees, and he just wazzle-dazzle into the stage. Big applause to the one and only editor-at-large at TechCrunch, Mike Butcher.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks. It's lovely to see so many of you turn up. What a vast crowd we have before us. A crazy welcome from Valencia, Valencia's Digital Summit. I've just come from San Francisco, so if I sound jet-lagged, it's because I am. I'm Mike Butcher. I'm a journalist with TechCrunch, have been since 1866. And of course, many of you remember the switch from the horse-drawn carriage to the internal combustion engine was a great story. Europe in flux. This is a very general question. What I suppose we're going to be doing is whether or not Europe is coming up with any solutions to the absolute shit show which we face right now. We have an energy crisis. There is a war on the continent. Inflation is running rampant. What can tech do? Well, this is a very, very tech question, because in the technology world, we are always obsessed with ourselves, thinking that we could solve all of the world's problems with an app. And of course, it's not true. However, we do our best, and at least some of us think about these subjects when the people in the, shall we say, the petroleum industry couldn't give a shit. So let's go for something. Let's go for everyone's specialisms at the moment. Starting right at the end, Egita from Wise Guys. Now, you Startup Wise Guys, you started in Latvia, and unfortunately we're missing one panelist, John Bradford, who was advertised to speak, unfortunately. But John was one of the really amazing sort of, you know, kicker-offers, or as it were, of Startup Wise Guys. But you guys are an accelerator. You've got quite a broad range of broad view across Europe. You know, some of the big issues that are facing the planet right now, like climate, diversity in society, things like that. You guys, you must be coming up with lots of solutions with all your startups. Are you're presumably optimistic for obvious reasons, but you continue to grow, don't you? So there's obviously something going on. What do you think? That was a very long preamble by me, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things going on, and I guess throughout all these, so we were started almost 10 years, no, more than 10 years ago actually. Now it's 2012.
Hold it a bit closer so we can all hear.
Now it's better?
That's better, yeah.
Yeah, so we started the accelerator in Estonia actually, but thank you for saying Latvia because I'm Latvian.
Ah, sorry, yes.
No, very good. Latvia also needs some part of the Baltics, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started 10 years ago, and again, I think it was trying to solve some issues, trying to solve some problems, and at that time, Baltics were definitely not one of the top countries in tech. I think probably we did something right, and now we're also looking over the 10 years, and I'm working with Startup Wise Guys for almost 7 years, and there has been different crises. And we still kept, I guess, going, and what I can tell, it's like there is some optimism. Because there is a crisis, but there's always some sort of solution at the end. And we kept growing, funnily enough, during the COVID, because that unlocked different things for us, as we don't have to be based in one city or in one country. We can actually do whatever we do in global kind of ecosystem. We started getting applications from startups from North America, from South America, Australia. They still suffer with the time zones, but at least now we sort of get them.
But I mean, we've had some unicorns come out of Europe, Spotify, Klarna. You know, Klarna's putting us all into debt. Spotify's just taking, you know, putting all the musicians into debt. And what was it? What's the one from Romania? UiPath is just putting enterprises into debt. I'm joking, of course. But they're a unicorn. Where's the climate unicorn in Europe right now? Where's that going to come from? Is it going to come from you?
That's a tough question.
Just say yes.
Yes, of course, always.
Yeah. You're champing at the bit, Miguel. What do you think?
we're going to see climate unicorns, which are not just exactly doing things around climate, but maybe around energy, around data applied for energy optimization. So it's not just climate as the little thing, right? But answer to your question, I think that here from Spain, Clarity, or it's Spain-US company from a Spanish founder, Rebecca Minguela, which is doing the ESG indexes for all investors that could become the Moody's for climate. It's probably a unicorn now. They raised more than $300 million. So there you have one at least.
Right, I see. Turning to you, you're presumably optimistic, but your fund invests broad brush. Do you see any really interesting things going on in terms of, say, the energy crisis that's going on, for instance?
Yeah.
I mean, Spain is obviously very much at the cutting edge of the climate crisis right now.
I do see quite a few interesting things, and as you know, in Spain we have also many different kind of energy mixes, and also some big incumbents like Iberdrola or others, which are more innovative than other companies around there. So there is innovation from the corporate side, and there is this push also from the government side. There is now also support. So what I've seen more, I'm not an hardware expert, and our fund is not doing too many hardware investments, but on the application of AI into the energy crisis, I've seen very interesting companies. There's one also from here from Spain called PlexiGrid. They're trying to optimize how much energy you consume from the grid and how you can give it back. So the idea that you are not just being a consumer but also a producer, I think is super exciting.
I see. Okay. And, now turning to you, Margarita, with the Social Nest Foundation, you're very focused on impact. One of the big problems, of course, in Europe that we've had historically is that LPs and investors don't really understand impact. There's, in a way, that the United States is a bit better at this because they have an enormous sort of philanthropy arm, but they also seem to be big fans of what impact investing is. Whereas in Europe, we still had a huge misunderstanding, perhaps. Where are we on that journey? Because, you know, that's another big problem that we've got to solve.
Yeah, definitely. As you are saying, we come from this bipolar world, and we need still to let people know that they can allocate their capital to have an impact, but at the same time to have returns. So we see that, well, we started 12 years ago as a foundation supporting startups, but also working with investors. And you can imagine 12 years ago, no one will talk about this. And fortunately, this is more you can listen to sustainability funds and impact investing like more everywhere, but the reality is that there's still a lot to be done in order for the investors to deploy capital in this. I think now what we are the risk right now is more that everything is sustainable right now, right? So the investors, what they are finding is they see sustainable funds like everywhere, and they don't understand why that's sustainable, or they start seeing, okay, this fund, exactly which type of companies are investing, and they see that maybe there's not much difference because there's there's some regulation coming from the EU to make the sustainable finance more transparent. But the reality is that we are now on the the greenwashing and impact washing risk, where the investors say, okay, I'm investing in this fund, but this is really sustainable investment. So this is contributing to the untrust about the sector. So it's not even good. So I think we are better than 12 years ago, but there's still a lot to be done for them to understand this, to see that this is a real opportunity for them to invest, to build trust around that, and to really see how they can give some steps.
Isn't the answer to show them, the returns that they can get from investing in that?
Yeah, I mean, for example, the GENE, which is the Global Impact Investing Network that is based in the US, and it's the organization that has a report every year about the sector and how it is growing and the risks and perception. They make a report for investors around the globe, and you can see that 70% of investors claim that they have received returns at the same level or even higher than the initial expectations. So definitely something that investors can value and can see, that even if they have specific expectations, the sector can provide more. And it is growing. I mean, it's more 1.2 trillion that is now deployed in impact investing. And it's definitely, well, now with the crisis, maybe it's changing a little bit, but definitely it was growing in the past years.
Agatha, you wanted to talk to me?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because I'm also thinking about that, and I hear that in the crisis sometimes what it's needed is the optimization and automatization and everything, how to do things better. And that's what I'm also, for example, about the impact startups, sustainability startups and the return. And I'm working closely with cybersecurity, which is also similar. It takes years for everyone to understand what they're doing, because they always start as a very niche thing that only some of the people like, and that's why the startups also are changing. It's like, you know, it's the chain reaction. Startups need to get to their clients, they need to start getting returns, which also brings the investors, of course, more interested. And from our experience, it just takes so much time. And I guess for us, it's a little bit easier, because we invest in the very early stage, and we see them when there's only idea stage, and of course, not all of them survive. But the more kind of we work on that, and the more effort we put in that, they become more kind of seen, and actually the more returns are coming at the end.
Miguel.
But it's not easy.
Yeah, as the greedy investor in the room, I think they are not antagonistic, right? I mean, having interest and having purpose and being mission driven and wanting to get a better world can be tied together with wanting to have profits. More than ever than ESG is not anymore like a decoration or the frosting of the cake, right? I mean, it's something that you should do by design, because it's actually what people and buyers need and acutely want. So more and more, I think that all the traditional funds like ours are having a much stronger angle around impact and having much more attention put into the entrepreneurs who are shaping a new, better world. And that is one, because we have the privilege to work in something that has a purpose, that's amazing, but B, because that's what's going to get us the best returns. So I don't think one goes against the other, and I see a clear trend around that is like a convergence of the impact funds and the traditional funds into the same segue.
Is there a sense in which right now, it's 2022, that this confluence of problems that are happening, Brexit, although obviously that's more of the UK's problem than Europe's, the energy crisis is obvious, related to the Ukraine war, which is obvious in its own right, and then also the inflation crisis, which is going to lead to global recessions in Europe. In a weird way, there's going to be a baptism of fire in Europe over the next couple of years. All of these problems are going to have new thinking to address them, whether it be reduction in the amount of power that we use so that we can switch to renewables more easily, so that we can spin up batteries, so that we can perhaps make our financial systems more fleet of foot, allow young people to save more, perhaps, things like that. God knows who's going to solve the housing crisis. I don't think I've got a huge bugbear with that, especially startups, by the way, just to segue, technology companies who are enabling rentier economies, I have a very, very deep problem with. But there are all these problems that are going to be happening right now. We're going to see some technology sort of approaches to these problems, aren't we? Go for it.
Sure. I mean, I think that's the way to go. I mean, I see technology as a way to help us to solve these challenges. And that's why I think innovation, entrepreneurship, but also capital coming to that, it's so much needed.
Miguel, I mean, the United States is going to have the similar problems, but not nearly to the same extent, would you say? Or would you disagree?
I think we're all in the same boat here, in a way, right. So the problems are going to be similar. To what you were saying, one thing that resonates to me is, yes, the crisis can be a trigger and can spark creativity, but this is another thing around timing, and what we do are living now is a tectonic shift of the technology platforms that we have in the world. I mean, the fact that there is enough maturity in AI as a platform, enough maturity in IoTs and sensors being deployed and being used as a platform, blockchain that can be used as a platform. All these enabling technologies are creating a fundamental shift in how we can tackle these problems. So I would say crisis is going to spark creativity, but the tools are there. If the tools were not there, I would be much more worried. What makes me be a cautious optimist is the fact that we have both happening at the same time.
Some big areas that are going to be surely climate for obvious reasons, but also defence and cybersecurity. So a year ago, you probably wouldn't really have heard about defence startups very often. Now you do. So, I mean, is there not a case for almost a vertical accelerator for defence?
Well, in our case, we kind of consider at the moment cybersecurity.
You've got cybersecurity.
Yeah, it's like a bigger cybersecurity, basically. We put also, for us, we have to be a bit more general. And also, for example, AI applications, different things go in there. But yeah, well, I think the cybersecurity and defense, including, is becoming way more important for everyone. And I think this is where the crisis is. I think it's, from my perspective, just working with the cybersecurity for already a couple of years, it's always considered like something very specific until it hits everyone and everyone needs to start thinking about it. And I think this is what crisis can actually trigger, to understand that it's not only for specific company in defense, but it's something that actually everyone needs. Even smaller companies?
Well, yes and no, because, I mean, obviously, so Daniel Ek from Spotify famously put $50 million of his own money into an AI to help defense company, you know, armies, basically, plan logistics and things like that. So there might be openings there, but he's famously only selling it to, or the company's only selling it to democracies, not to China and Russia, for obvious reasons, thank God. Lastly, do we think the EU as an EU Commission, the EU Parliament, etc., do we think that they're fit for purpose? Do they still sort of do blah, 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 or are they backing startups in the way that we need them to? What do you think?
Well, I think there are some things that are being done, and I mentioned before the SFDR, which is the type of regulation that hopefully will help kind of putting some things on the buckets for deploying more capital and making, building trust in the sector, in this case. But there is still a lot to be done, and sometimes I think the feeling is that there are many talking there, but then it doesn't arrive to the real startups and investors in this case doing this. So, well, I think in one hand, yes, but sometimes the link into the reality is missing, and just to be.
Do you feel that you're getting the backing as an investor?
I think it's great on funding. Funding is working well. There's lots of money flowing into the market, both VCs and entrepreneurs, but it's far too much regulation and too different from one country to the other, and that needs to change.
Still too much regulation, too much red tape. What do you think, Agata?
Yeah, I guess I have to agree. The funding is great because, especially as now with Startup Wise Guys, we see there's a lot of countries, a lot of cities, even city level, that are sort of getting this funding to attract startups, and they have this. Regulation-wise, yes, there are good regulations. There are also bad regulations. So I'm with Margarita as well. It's like yes, but also no sometimes.
Well, I've just been, as I said famously at the outset, I've just been in San Francisco. And there the word regulation isn't even in the dictionary a lot of the time, so people don't really think about it at all. Quick advert, ladies and gentlemen, come to the Europa's Awards next week, November the 1st, Lisbon, during Web Summit. But for now, thank you very much, Agata from Startup Wise Guys, Miguel from K Fund, and Margarita from Social Nest Foundation.
Thank you, folks.
Oh, yeah.
See you later.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure having you. You behaved?
Thank you.
He behaved? Good. She's from Riga. Remember that one. Anyway, you had fun? Are we having fun? Yes? Okay, good. We started with a small crowd, but you guys keep growing. Siesta's under control. You know where the coffee machine is? Good. That's the important thing. Well, I'm very, very excited with our next panel, because it's not really a panel. It's going to be a nice conversation with someone that you've probably seen all late in the evening if you were in the guest reception. She's an extraordinary person. She has had an incredible track record working with some of the most, I would say, disruptive CEOs in the world, including Google and Amazon. And she now kind of uses all the experience through the years to guide people into growing and making the best company they can do. And so we're going to have a very interesting conversation with our next speaker. So please welcome, with an incredible applause, to talk about learnings from scaling Amazon and Google, all the way from the US, even though she speaks good Spanish, so you can test her afterwards. Big applause to the founder and leadership strategist of Hypergiant, Anne Hyatt. Big applause, please.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anne, for joining.
Thanks, Alex. It's quite an introduction.
Muy
bien, ¿y tú? Muy bien, sí.
There you go.
¿Hablamos ella español? ¿Castellano, valenciano?
Well, some people might not
quieres?
follow. So.
Vale. Okay.
So, Anne, thank you very much for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And there's so many questions that we can talk about here on your experience, your work, the kind of things that you bring to the table. But maybe one that came to mind immediately is like you talk a lot about the Silicon Valley playbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you've traveled around and you've experienced Silicon Valley, you kind of get the grist of it and how it goes. But I would love for you to tell us a little bit more. What do you interpret as the Silicon Valley playbook? Do you see it only in the Valley? Do you see it elsewhere? What's your take on that? What is the playbook?
I mean, the playbook is an oversimplification of success models that I've seen over the 15 years that I worked in tech in Silicon Valley. So my very first job ever after undergrad was working directly for Jeff Bezos in the foundational years of the company. I'm talking before they were profitable, when it was very, very stressful board meetings, when they weren't sure if Jeff Bezos' crazy ideas were going to work out. And I worked for him for 3 years. Then I moved to California to start a PhD and got recruited out of my PhD and worked at Google for 12 years. So these are some of the patterns I've seen work not only in these companies that are now part of our daily habits, but now as I've moved to Europe, I've lived in Spain for 5 years now. I lived in Sweden for 2 years before. I lived in the UK. The playbook is what I've seen as the common denominators of success regardless of your location, your industry, your growth stage, your personal risk tolerance. And it really comes down to those seemingly simple things that often don't get enough attention, which is maintaining very, very high standards for talent, attracting the right investors who have the same definitions of success and the same exit strategy as you, really understanding your market needs. It's in those seemingly softer skills as a leader, and the playbook also involves some of the best attributes that I've seen in leadership. And my list of common denominators of the attributes of the most successful CEOs often surprise people because it starts with humble leadership and insatiable curiosity. And when you think of Jeff Bezos, humility probably is not the first word that comes to mind.
Not really.
Normally. But what I mean by that is he has supreme confidence in his vision, always has from day one, but his approach to leadership was in a humble way where he not only tolerated but demanded dissenting opinions, required his senior executives to keep him accountable, to see around corners, poke holes in all his favorite ideas. And that is then fueled by his insatiable curiosity to explore what's next and how he can best serve his user.
He looks to
before it
me that
happens.
he's a big nerd.
He is a big nerd. I mean, I worked for Jeff 1.0. Now he's like this space cowboy, like this very like buff guy. That was not the Jeff I worked for. I worked for the guy tucking in his shirt into his jeans with a braided belt. Like that was 1.0 Jeff. I mean, he went to Princeton 2 years early. He's always been this wunderkind. But yeah, he's truly a nerd at heart, and in the best way. I mean that as a huge compliment.
And how did you see that unfolding? So you saw that unfolding in a way at Amazon. Do you see other of this stuff unfolding there? And what was the difference what kind of what did it look like in Google? Because I think these things kind of look slightly different depending on the companies you're working at. Like the core idea is the same, but it takes on a different spin in each place.
Yeah, there's definitely those commonalities in the playbook that were similar to Amazon and made me very comfortable at Google. But the culture at both companies is wildly different, and I think that's directly reflective of the CEO themselves. It's always reflective of, I mean, you can put anything on your letterhead as your mission statement or your culture, but it really just comes down to how do we talk with each other, how do we reward and incentivize, what is it like on your, you know, P0 war room days when you're not going home until this is fixed. That is your culture. And I joined Google in 2006. They were not yet the #1 search engine, if we can remember such a day.
Alta Vista.
And they were really, yeah, Alta Vista, Yahoo, they were much more dominant. And so back then we were really searching for what was going to differentiate us. How could we anticipate the needs of our users? We had very aggressive launch schedules. And we were just making it up as we went. There were no written operational manuals for how to get things done. We hadn't yet established that kind of launch timeline. And it was kind of the Wild West. It was very cowboy kind of entrepreneurism, but also among my favorite memories. Of the 12 years I was there, I would say the first 3 years were by far my favorite because it really stretched you every single day far, far outside your comfort zone. And I think that's another common denominator.
Because you went through their IPO, that was like...
I was just after the IPO, this close. My PhD was very expensive because I missed the IPO, so I was just the year after. Yeah.
And do you see, like, because Google is an interesting company where you see this triangle, or you saw this triangle happening, right? With Larry, with Sergey, and with Eric. How did that work, right? Because you were literally in the middle of that.
I was. My office, my first office at Google was the length of this stage away from Larry and Sergey's office. And so we saw each other 100 times a day. Eric was in the building next door, and I worked for Eric for 9.5 of the 12 years I was at Google. Their relationship, the three of them, I have never seen a better team, a more high-functioning team, because I think each of them were very, very clear with what their individual responsibility was. They never got in each other's way, but they held each other very accountable to being their best selves every day. Larry and Sergey hired Eric as parental supervision, as they called him in their first press announcement, because they wanted to remain fully focused in the 20, 50, 100 years from now. And they wanted to bring in a professional CEO who could manage the day-to-day and help them really hone this machine that they were building. And Eric never once forgot that it was not his company. He was there to make them their most productive, impactful selves, but he was very professorial. He would sit in meetings often like this, and he would just let them debate. Larry and Sergey often had wildly different opinions and very, very strong perspectives on very technical problems we needed to solve. And he allowed that debate to go until it was no longer productive. And then he would summarize all of this banter into just a single sentence of, here's the data, here's the premises upon which we're making this decision, here's the risks we're taking, and recommended courses of actions for them to choose from. He could just take all this information and consolidate it into a way that they could quite easily make those very, very difficult decisions. And if I absorbed any skill from him that has served me well in my future, it is that. That is now, I just ask a million questions and get the brightest minds in the world to then anticipate what's coming next by just pulling that silver thread through their ideas. Yeah.
Well, I've met Eric several times, and it always struck me as someone very calm. Like, he seems like someone very in control of what's going on, just listening and kind of like then saying, okay, kids, this is where we're going to go, right?
Always. I have never seen him flustered. There was a day when he was the most angry I have ever seen because there were very stupid mistakes, which never happened at Google, where someone just flat out had completely missed something that they should have. And he was livid. And he just said to the person, this is unacceptable, in that same volume. This is unacceptable. That person almost died in their chair, because that's the most angry he's ever been. He's not that flip the table, crazy kind of, you know.
Yeah, reminds me of someone. So you were, I'm going to switch back to Amazon. You were there at probably one of the most instrumental moments of the company, which is when they launch, or the design, develop, and launch Amazon Web Service. So how do you live through that? Because that, a lot of people don't realize that make Amazon what it is right now. Like the biggest horsepower that Amazon has is their reliance on AWS. So how did you live through that? How did you see the leadership, like focusing, as you said, like, you know, Jeff had this idea. How did that happen?
So it was this seemingly crazy idea that Jeff brought up in one of our board of directors meetings, and the board rightfully questioned, what does this have to do with e-commerce? This crazy idea that became AWS. They thought this is a distraction, it's very, very expensive, they didn't see how it was part of the growth strategy he was pitching, and they gave him a very short amount of time to prove that this was worth the investment. Because remember, like servers, computers were completely wildly different. We needed like airplane hangars full of servers at the time. It wasn't this plug-and-play kind of system that they later developed. So there was an engineer who was from South Africa, and he was tasked with making it wildly efficient to make it make sense cost-wise so that we could defend it to the board. And he had a family emergency and had to go home to South Africa. And this is, by complete accident, probably why AWS became what it was, because he developed it on the other side of the world, far, far from Silicon Valley, when nobody had any idea what this was coming. He came back to Seattle. We launched AWS. Andy Jassy had spent a year and a half as Jeff Bezos' shadow. That was his official title. And being the shadow meant that he spent all of his time at Jeff's side, copied on every email, in every meeting, on every flight, everything. Because that gave him, one, the full context of what was happening in the organization as a whole, and two, it taught him to be a brain double for Jeff. He liked what he liked, he hated what he hated, he would anticipate every single question, and he really learned the genius of the thought process that was Jeff Bezos. And so just as he was graduating from being shadow, which is now called technical director, he then was tasked to run this big bet, which was AWS, and then it became what it is today. But it honestly was seemingly insane to the board of directors. They did not think it was a good idea, but now, I mean, all startups are built on this platform. I mean, this is the reason why Silicon Valley exploded, was because they made it accessible to more entrepreneurs, and we got more diversity of participation, and you had lower costs to prove your idea, all thanks to AWS.
It was actually interesting that he went against the board, like kids. Take notes here. Sometimes when you believe in your ideas, right, it's like push hard.
He did that twice in really critical moments. AWS was one, and Amazon Prime was the second that I saw. I'm sure he's done it more than that, but during my 3 years, those were the big moments. Prime, they thought it was so crazy that the board started talking about maybe it would be a good idea to bring in a professional CEO, because they weren't sure this crazy idea was going to pan out. And again, they gave him a very short leash to prove it. And we all know how that worked out.
Yeah, I think both are incredible bets, especially when you try and talk to the CFO.
Yeah.
You look at the numbers and you're like, this really bad pan out.
It did not make sense in the numbers. But he did. He stood up there in the board of directors. If you are going to challenge your board, this is the way to do it. He's a master class in it. He went up to the conference room whiteboards and he said, I'm going to show you the math. And he took all of the knowns, all of the costs, all of the data modeling, and then he mapped out the risks of like, these are the unknowns. And he said, if I can solve for X and for Y, it will result in this incredible result.
Wow.
But what I don't think they fully appreciated was no one in the world had ever solved for X or Y. So with Prime, X was the cost of shipping, because with Prime back then, you could get free second-day shipping with Prime membership, which was only $49 at the time. And he would have to negotiate rates that no one in the history of had ever negotiated. And Y was predictive sourcing through fulfillment centers, which Jeff Wilkie was then tasked with doing. So the two of them had to do something that no one had ever done before in order to get this result. But he showed them the math and he said, we're going to solve for this and you will get this. And so they gave him an opportunity to be like, okay, solve for that.
Well, I mean, if anyone can actually prove that I can solve X when he had done it for books and renegotiate the whole scheme, that was Jeff. So
yep.
That's fascinating. I mean, my gosh, there's so many stories I want to hear about. But yeah, that being said, like all leaders, they also missed opportunities, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not always home run, right?
No.
Which ones were like the biggest ones that you, living through them, you kind of said like, damn, we should have seen that one coming?
So Eric Schmidt was asked this on stage towards the end of his tenure as a CEO, so I share this using his own words. But he said there were two big misses that he feels like were incredible failures on his part. He was CEO of Google for 10 years, and then executive chairman for another 10. And he said the first was not realizing that phone numbers would become that unchangeable identifier. He missed that because that was an opportunity to get authentication, which would have really changed people's behaviors online. And the second was Google took a big risk in creating something called Wave. Have you ever heard of Wave?
Let's try. Who here knows what Google Wave was?
1, 2, 3, 4,
wow.
5. Okay, this is more.
We have
this is
the
a very
oldest here.
sophisticated audience. Nobody has ever heard of Wave. So Wave was a really big bet. They built it in the Sydney office because, again, whenever you're doing something really innovative, it needs to have its own ecosystem. We could talk for a whole hour about that. How it needs to be outside of your usual culture and structure and teams and incentivized very differently
The
and
pattern
staffed
is
very
repeating
differently.
several times now.
It's true. So we did it. It was based in Sydney. Didn't work. Longer story why. But that was a big failure. But the bigger mistake than Wave, I think that's a very reasonable mistake because they ended up using all the technology in different ways. Like if you collaborate on Google Docs, that was Wave technology. A lot of things that we use today
remember when I
is
was
Wave.
using Wave, I remember thinking, you know, there's certain parts of this
That's really cool.
That's
Yeah.
really groundbreaking. And
They kept those bits. So that wasn't really a failure in and of itself. The reason why I bring up Wave as a big mistake was they were so distracted with that they missed social media. They didn't see it coming because we were so focused on this thing that we thought was the future, and we didn't see what became, Facebook, Instagram, which was started by, at the time, a Google employee. They missed it because they were so distracted on this thing that they weren't picking up their heads and seeing what was happening around the system. So, again, having a product that doesn't work out the way you anticipate and repurposing the tech, not a failure. But missing an entire movement was the failure.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot get it right all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, we're not using Google Plus today, right, because of that, because they just missed it.
I'm going to be evil, thankfully. We're not using Google Plus. It was painful.
not a fan.
In the same way, I actually, when I played with Wave, it was like, this is really cool. It's just like, product-wise, they're not getting it right, but the technology is really cool.
Yeah.
Google Plus was like, no,
wrong
wrong all over. Wrong all over.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyhow, so, I mean, this happens in this kind of like, not vacuum, but a very specific situation. So I keep wondering, can you translate these lessons to the European culture?
Mm-hmm.
Is it translatable in a certain way? Because we have a different culture, people approach things slightly differently. So even though you've said, certain products got designed and built in different areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see that as the expert, right? Trying and working with leaders. Can you actually transplant some of these things, or do you work on a lot of that adaptation, cultural adaptation? Do you have to do a lot of that?
I really like that question because it's a little bit of both. A lot of speakers who have been on this same stage before me have outlined some of the challenges that you have being based in Europe versus the States, which is, for example, different funding pools, different risk tolerance, different exit expectations. Those can be inhibitors. One, you have to design from day one for multiple languages, which you don't have to do in the States. There's a lot of barriers to entry that are much higher here than perhaps entrepreneurs based in Silicon Valley or New York or Texas are experiencing. With that said, I do think that this playbook is directly transferable. So for me, that's more about vision. And one of my favorite things about being an entrepreneur post-pandemic is that we're really recentric. There are a few.
That's a thing now.
There are. I do have a
entrepreneur.
favorite. Is that we're now recentered on our purpose. What is not only the passion alignment with your employees, but it's much more about the impact. How are we making the world? I know it's a cliche, but literally making the world a better place. It's really centered around impact rather than ego and billions of dollars being raised in funding. So I think it really comes down to that vision of that passion about the impact we're trying to make. Two, it's about talent. It's about being very clear on your vision for the change you're trying to make in the world and attracting talent around you who has the same vision, whether that's your employees, your board of advisors, your board of directors, your investors. Everyone needs to be streamlined. When those things are true, you can pivot your business plan, you can pivot your, the risks you're taking. But for me, it's much more about the people than the what and the how of what you're doing in your business model. And in my experience, I think everyone who's been on this stage from VCs would agree, they're making a bet on the people much more than the product. And so that I find very directly transferable. And so the reason why I think there's advantages to the post-pandemic entrepreneurism in Europe is that we have prevented a bit of the brain drain that would have happened over the last 3 years. People are now staying here, they're building it with their teams, they're creating these companies in their own backyard, their own garages, rather than going to the States or to other industries which would have just been their automatic default mode before.
Which actually gets me thinking, you focus and giving people so much importance, which they have. How does, and you're gonna love this one, how does mental health fits into this? Should we keep on going with the stressful 24/7 kind of schedules that you see in the Valley, or the consequences are becoming very obvious. Yes, the success are obvious, but the mental health issues are also becoming very obvious. So what's your take on that?
I first want to acknowledge I've been a horrible example of this. The first 15 years of my career, I was working 18-hour days. I was never going home. I had an overnight bag under my desk because I never knew if I'd have to get on a red-eye flight to New York that day or not. That was kind of what it was like. But I think for me, it's a really complicated question, and I'm going to oversimplify an answer. People ask me all the time, how did I survive sitting next to Jeff Bezos and Eric Schmidt, who are relentless in their pursuit of perfection? If they will hold you to your standard of, they will hold you to the accountability of what my extreme possibility is. If I am underperforming for my abilities, I will hear about it. So people ask me, how did I not burn out in that environment? And here's my answer about mental health. I didn't burn out working 18-hour days and traveling, basically living on a plane for 2 decades, because my job gave as much to me as I gave to it. And what I wanted in exchange for my hours and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears was I wanted to learn from the greatest entrepreneurs in the world. I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to find the boundaries of my abilities and my dreams. And I wanted to work with people that I not only liked, but wanted to become like. And that's what I received in return. So while 18-hour days is not a good idea for very long, and I certainly am not doing it now, I think that's the key. For mental health, be very, very clear with yourself, and then have these conversations with your employees also of what do you want to exchange for this experience, for this stage of your career. The first 3 years at Google, I worked for Marissa Mayer before she became CEO of Yahoo.
Marissa's nice.
Marissa is a force of nature. She was employee number 20 at Google, first female engineer ever hired, and she was in charge of products, user experience. So she was in charge of just making cool stuff that brought in eyes. We didn't have to worry about how to monetize it. But we were having major launches, like every month. And she was really worried about burning out her most talented engineers. So she went to each person and asked them, what do you need so you won't feel resentful of your job? And for one of her engineers, Johanna, she had 2 kids under the age of 3. So she said, I don't mind working, being on calls with Bangalore at 3 in the morning, but what I do resent is missing dinner time with my kids every day. So Marissa became the person who would pull Johanna out of meetings. And another engineer, he needed, Friday night football with his friends from Stanford. And for each person, they needed something that filled them back up outside of work, and she knew what filled them up inside of work, and she became a defender of that. So I think having a conversation with yourself and being very clear of what you want in exchange, and as leaders, having those conversations with your direct reports, you can get a lot out of each other without burning yourselves out, and ideally not working 18-hour days.
That's fascinating. I was wondering right now, were you ever aware that you were making history?
Yeah, I was.
I think that's part of the gig, right?
So I didn't fully appreciate it. When I was interviewing at 20 years old, interviewing with Jeff Bezos, it took me 9 months to get that job. But once I was finally sitting with him, I think that was the last time I didn't fully appreciate what was happening. The second he gave me the desk, I sat physically the closest to him in the entire company. It was like this far between our desks. And the second I sat down, I knew I was watching history be made. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me before, because he'd been Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 1999. Seattle's a small, big city, so he was a local celebrity. But the moment I sat in that desk, I realized I am on a rocket ship. I am witnessing a moment in time that is irreplicable. The internet will never be invented again. E-commerce will never be invented again. All the problems we were trying to solve that moment would never come again. And so I tried to absorb it like a sponge. I treated my job like a PhD, and I literally gave myself homework. I would research things because I didn't want to miss this incredible opportunity. And honestly, that's what drives me now. The reason why after 12 years at Google, I left and became a consultant and moved to Europe was because I want to pay forward this elite business education that's been given to me by just osmosis, by absorbing it from the people I was around. And I want to pay that forward. I feel a huge responsibility to empower underrepresented entrepreneurs and to create more participation and more diversity in technology. It gets me more excited than anything else I can think of doing.
It's fascinating. I mean, it has to be an incredible feeling. I've heard some people in the blockchain space, for example, in the crypto space, having that same feeling. It's like we are handed a new chance of building something completely new from the ground up, and see how that works. So we still have a little bit of time. So we have time for one very quick question and one very quick answer. So who wants to ask Anne something? There we go. Do we have a mic over there? Thank you.
Right here.
An amazing history, and thank you for coming to Europe and give us back this. What do you think that is missing in Europe, like, when you see a 20-year-old here and when you see, the time frame, what do you say for, what you normally find in Europe in women or entrepreneurs starting that that you try to reinforce in your day-to-day in Europe right now?
An easy question. Yeah. One you can answer in like 40 seconds that we have.
I'll answer with my first instinct, which was there's a higher risk tolerance in the States than I see in general in Europe. And that's not only addressed to the individual. I do see some very bold, unapologetic dreamers, but even if you have that from within yourself, to find an ecosystem of like-minded teammates who have the technical skills you need, to find like-minded investors, advisors, board members who all have that same exceptional risk tolerance is more challenging here in general. With that said, there's incredible trends the other way now that we're seeing a lot more of this. You're getting bigger runways, you're getting earlier successes. And so while it's a slightly more uphill battle, I'm happy to see that turning around. So I think those are two of the biggest challenges, is the risk tolerance and then finding like-minded people who are also an anomaly in societies that have really taught you to play it a little bit more safe. But thanks. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're out of time. It's been an immense pleasure having you. You and I could keep on talking here for a long time. Very quick, which one was the best boss, Eric or Jeff?
No, impossible.
Big applause for Anne, please. Thank you very much, Anne. Big
Thanks
pleasure.
very much. Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you had as much fun as I had. I could talk with Anne for ages. It's beautiful. It's history unfolding from the inside, absolutely. And I'll have to say this, as someone that works on storytelling, Anne is a wonderful storyteller. So I hope you really enjoyed that. And now we're gonna kicking into the last panel of the day. Oh, you're right. Good point. So Anne has written a book, and she will be signing her book at the entry of the expo. So if anyone wants to have her book and her signature, now is the time. She's heading there, so be quick before there's a massive queue, which I'm no doubt there's gonna be. And to finish with the last panel roundtable that we're going to have of the day before we do the start pitching, I want to welcome our next panel, who it's a topic that we don't talk that much, but it's getting to the point where it's becoming increasingly important, right? Most of you are probably Spaniards. We've had a hard time getting startups to grow, to get to a point where they are taken seriously, but very few people talk about, then what? What do we do with startups when they're scale-ups? How do we take them to the larger markets? How do we exit them? How do we keep on pushing the boundaries? And to talk about that, we have our next panel. So please welcome our next speakers. First and foremost, Felipe Navillo, good friend, co-CEO and co-founder of... Oh, Felipe's not here. Okay. Nice one. So, Álvaro Verdoy, CEO of SalesLayer. Big applause for Álvaro. Come on, we can do this. Álvaro, thank you for joining. Alberto López, founding partner of Geniali. Alberto, good to have you. Big applause for Alberto, come on. I keep finding your people all around the place. Cristina Vila, founder and CEO of Cledara. Big applause to Cristina. And to run the show, give a wonderful applause to our moderator, Elena Torras, managing partner at Pao Capital. Big applause.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for being here today. So Felipe has a good excuse. It requires his presence because a very, very nice, familiar situation. He will explain in another occasion. But we have here 3 outstanding entrepreneurs. And, you know, we want to learn from their journey, but what we want is to know the tricks on how they have really become successful entrepreneurs. And that's how we will go through the session. We only have 25 minutes, very short to have all the takeaways, but let's go for that. So let me introduce you to Cristina Vila, co-founder of Cledara, and she has raised more than 27 million. She has a SaaS to save our spending on SaaS. So thank you, Cristina, for being here today.
Thank you.
And then we have Alberto López, co-founder of Geniali, a web interface to generate interactive content that has raised more than 27 million too. And one interesting thing, they are a fully remote company. Welcome, Alberto.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, Álvaro Verdoy, co-founder of SalesLayer. He raised more than 30 million and has a SaaS to automatically synchronize your product catalogs. Welcome, Álvaro. Thank you very much. So let's go straight to the point. And I wanted to know, you are now a successful company. You are a referral for everyone, but did you have to pivot when you started? If yes, can you tell us what made you realize that you had to pivot, and 1 or 2 things to get to the product market fit? And if not, 1 or 2 things to get to the product market fit. So let's start with you, Cristina. Very short answers because we have few time.
Yeah, so we've always known what we wanted to build, so I would say from that perspective, we've not really pivoted. What I would say was our secret there is we made sure that we put a very, very quick MVP to market to then talk to customers every single day. And I think that's how you end up really building and iterating over that product in a way that is sustainable and is something that people actually want.
Thank you. And what about you?
Yeah, we had to pivot a lot at the beginning because actually we wanted to be a B2B SaaS for presentations, but once we did our first rollout of the beta version, we noticed that we did reach companies, but we noticed that we reached massively individuals. So we had to pivot into the B2C business, and we started to focus on that. And from that point, going to the B2B. This is what we are doing in this moment. But yes, pivotation for us is crucial. As long as you are able to do some A/B testing before you launch something, I think that is important.
So just for me to understand, but first you didn't do it. I didn't do the A/B testing. You just launched for the B2B, and then you listen to the market. That's right?
Yeah, a little bit, yes. We started to listen a lot to our customers and to our users, and we noticed that we started to grow a lot in education. That lead us to think that it would be a good idea to focus a little bit on that market, and to the B2C individuals. Yes.
Oh, great. So test, test, test.
Yes.
Alvaro?
So in our case, in terms of product, we didn't pivot because we are in a market that already existed, product information management. So we had a very clear idea of what the product should be. But where we had to do a lot of adjustment and pivoting, if we can say that, is in terms of go-to-market. So the ideal customer profile, how to reach them, how to price our product, how to close more deals.
And how you did that? You did A/B testing? Yes?
Measuring a lot, working very hard, and taking sometimes brave decisions, because sometimes you need to break things that are already working to make something even better.
Okay.
So that's how we did it.
Okay, so test, test, test. I have a question that I'm very intrigued about your answers is, have you ever been close to bankruptcy or really in a tough time that you didn't know if you will survive, if the company will be alive after that? And if so, can you tell us a very snapshot of the situation and the most important, any tip on how you overcome that? And if not, how you manage to not have this kind of situations. So let's start now with you.
Okay, good. I think the death valley for software as a service companies like we are is when you are under 1 million of ARR. I think once you go beyond 1 million, 2 million ARR, it's very difficult to kill a SaaS company because you have a predictable revenue and you always have ways to adapt to a changing environment or if something doesn't work. In the early days, we had many moments that were, oh my God, what are going to do because things are not looking good. Especially we had two, but that were very tough. And two that happened in a moment where we were very short of money. I remember that in the early days, we had a very good partner. We were about to raise money or to ask for more money to our business angels. And we had a very good partner. We were closing a lot of cool companies with him. He was very engaged with our company, and yeah, when one day one of the employees of our solution partner called us to say that the previous day passed away. Wow. And so the company had to go through liquidation. So well, it was really difficult moment, and our investors were not believing us, thinking that, oh, this is unreal. Maybe these guys are making this up just so we feel sorry and we invest in the company. Thankfully, we were able to close an ENISA, a small loan of 60K at that time, and that allowed us to give us some more runway to recover from that because we lost some very good customers, but also the potential that we had together. And also personally, it was a very tough moment. And I'm sure during fundraising is also a tough moment. We had a moment where we had 1 week of oxygen. Basically, if we were not signing in a week, we were running out of cash. It was a 31st of July, and you know what happens in August in Spain. And one of our business angels decided that was not going to sign, basically, and was asking for money to sign, basically. But well, in the end, we were able to fix the misunderstanding. But there are these moments that you really don't know what is going to happen, and especially if you run out of money. So the first thing in startups and software as a service, well, in any company, first point, never run out of money. That's the only thing that can kill you from one day to another.
Yeah, wow. What's two stories, especially the first one, sad, but I'm happy that you overcome it and you're here explaining your success. So, Alberto?
Yeah, in our case, it was very similar what Alvaro has said. In the very beginning, in the first phases, it is tough. It is really difficult because you don't have recurring revenue, and actually, in our case, we didn't monetize anything in the very beginning. Because we were at the beginning we wanted to be a free forever SaaS. Later we noticed that we realized that we had to earn money to get cash, no? But our problem was that in the seed phase of investment, round of investment, we started it very late. So we ran out of cash. And we had to do something because we didn't have any money left. And we started to ask for money to friends and family again, because we were in the middle of the round. And the round, you know, this is a very good advice in my case, you have to start very soon the round, because the rounds will take so long time. So we got some loans from friends and family, and we reduced the cost. We started to share our office with another companies in Córdoba. We reduced our salaries, even employees, and of course the founders. We reduced it for months, even to 0. But we knew that the round was about to be closed, but it was just a matter of months. So we did it. We suffered a lot. Suffering is something that the entrepreneur has to be ready for, because it's very, setting up a company is so amazing, but during some months or some period of time, I bet you will suffer. So suffering, or going for loans, particular loans, and afterwards, finally, we reached the seed money, and now we are here.
Wow, so finally it's about the people, no? So everyone was betting for your project.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Friends, family, the team, yourself, everyone
Absolutely.
reducing or putting money.
But it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
We started too late.
But that's belief on the project, so
yeah, exactly.
Great. And what about you, Christina? You have stories such as the ones of them?
So not like those ones, but I have to say that since very early, people told me raising money takes a long time, so make sure that you start early. And I did follow that advice. Having said that, you can never predict what's going to happen when you choose to start a fundraise. And for example, when we started with the Series A, we say, okay, we are going to start in February. That's when we know that for sure we have great metrics for it. Well, turns out that that was not the great moment to start a fundraising, because the markets decided to collapse. And it's because we had plenty of runway when we decided to start, that in the end we were not under such stress, because, well, we said, well, let's pause, let's see what's going to happen here, let's rethink how we need to communicate now about our business, which is slightly different to last year when everything was booming and so exciting. And then, well, we restarted the fundraising in June, and then from there it went very, very quickly. But yeah, I would say the key to the point that Alberto made is to start early.
Yeah, so take note. Start when you don't need the money. That's the
exactly.
the title. So another thing that it's really important, especially to arrive to the stages you are, is the people, no? And we were talking about the people. And I think we have different phases. One is when we are starting and the first team we hire, and then when we start to grow and we are not just a teeny startup, just 3 or 4, 6, but when we have a bigger company. So what would be the profiles that you think are the most important on the really, really early beginnings? Like if you only can hire one person, which is the profile you will do? And what will be this profile when you start to be a scale-up? When you have this 20 million already in the bank, and you say, okay, we are in another size of the company, what is this key profile you need for the growth of the company? So now let's, in the middle, okay. Alvaro, let's go.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I bet all of us can think different things. In my particular case, I really don't believe in stars. Mm-hmm. In people who already did it, of course, you have to have people in your team. But we bet for people who is really willing to make their life within the company. People who is wearing your T-shirt all the time, and who is willing to work with you guys all the time and spend all the hours because they believe in the project. I think in the first phases, a junior person can be much more useful for you and much more enriching. It can enrich your team much more than a person who already did it and that the salary is really high. That's my personal opinion. because you are going to spend a lot in salaries that maybe you are not going to make the most of it in that phases. So in my opinion, you should go for junior people who is, really, they are willing to stay with you, and they are looking forward to make improvements in the product together with you. Yeah, it's my opinion.
That's interesting, hungry people, no? People who want to grow in the company with you. But tell me, one profile, product, CTO. I assuming you have already the CTO, because otherwise you cannot build a tech company, but product marketing. What is this profile that you would hire?
Well, in our case, since we started without any CTO, we needed.
Okay,
we needed a CTO, so in our case, we called a friend of us who was working in Madrid and was, really looking forward.
CTO, we have 10 minutes.
CTO.
Let's go for the next one. Alvaro?
So about the hiring, I think, being short, basically the profiles that can complement better the founding team. So if in the founding team there's no one that is very strong in sales, for instance, or in tech, so probably that's what you need to prioritize in terms of hiring. I think differently in terms of junior versus senior. I think when starting, you need some people that have done it, or at least at that stage, that knows how to do it. Because if the founders are not strong in these certain areas, then going through the unknown is very difficult, and you can lose time that is very valuable. But I think that depends a lot also in the industry. So for instance, we are more B2B, mid-enterprise market, and probably that's a different experience in Genially. So I think it depends a lot case by case.
Wow, Cristina, in which side are you? In the junior one or in the senior one?
I think I'm more on in the middle. Like, I think you don't need senior people. I think when you're starting necessarily, you don't need very junior people. I mean, if you find them and if they're there, that's great. But I think in my case, for example, I was a solo founder when I started, and I thought, well, what is the one thing that I can definitely not do? Code. I couldn't code. So then the first person that I wanted to bring onto the team was an engineer that would code. Everything else, I can learn how to sell, I can learn how to support, I can learn how to talk to investors, and it is a very steep learning curve, and you go through those, moments where you're like, oh my God, I just don't know what I'm doing here. But then ultimately you have great communities that enable you to talk to a lot of different founders that will, help you, guide you. Investors are also a great source, have lots of conversations with them early on, and you learn what's important and what you need to focus on. Once we were already like, okay, now we know that customers are buying our product, at that point, obviously I had done the first sales. I had learned how to demo the product and how to go through all those things. But once you say, okay, this is working, then I think it's very important to hire someone that can really help you build that go-to-market function that will help you scale. And so, in our case, first was product, and then was go-to-market.
I think it's very interesting what Christina said. I think it's very valuable when the founders start doing these tasks beforehand. So selling, even if you've never sold anything, try to sell, try to do the marketing, try to do customer success. So I remember at the very beginning we were 4 in the company, and there were 3 developers and then myself. So customers were like, okay, so is the CEO doing the first call, is doing the demo, is then issuing the invoice, then is collecting the payment, is doing, so how big is this company?
You could change your
Do we really, exactly, do we really trust that? But then when you go to hire, you already know what you really need, what is the tricky part, how difficult it is, the job that your team is doing. So I agree with you. The early days,
and actually,
we have so many
it's very funny what you were saying, because when we were I was doing customer support, right? And well, sometimes when you talk to customers, you want to make sure that you give customers a point of escalation. So it's like, well, if they're already talking to the CEO, that doesn't really work. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to be Stephanie now. Stephanie is doing customer support.
Yeah,
and
I was a lady,
and
also, I was a woman and a man at the same time. Through the chat, I was Alexa, and in demos, I was Alvaro. So.
Exactly. Beginnings are never easy, and you see, you have to be all-rounder. So I have so many questions for you, but we only have 6 minutes left. So my question, let's straight go to the fundraising. I'm sure there are a lot of questions about it, but we have to one short answer. One tip to nail the fundraising. I mean, you have all raised so much funding, so one tip to nail it. When it's the best thing you've done?
It's never so much.
Sorry?
It's never so much. We always need more.
Okay, never so much. You have already more than 27 million in the bank, never so much?
Well, founders, we always need more. Anyway.
Yeah, but you have to be cash efficient.
Yeah, definitely. If I can answer quickly, I think it's considering that fundraising is a sales process as well. So it's a funnel that goes through different stages and learn how to perform those stages and follow the process, talk with many people, try to convince them. Once you have some people that are quite convinced, try to progress, and then the conversion will follow. And at the end, if you have one term sheet, great. If you have 2, amazing. If you have 3, super amazing.
Epic,
and more than 3, you are a rock star.
I was going to say the same. The more options you have, the better, because one of them will be successful and others will not. So there are not too many options. You have to have a lot of options and opportunities, and also start very soon, as we were mentioning before. Start when you don't need the money, because if you don't need the money, you are more sexy also.
That's true.
So I would say be ready. So when you know that you are approaching the time that the company will have the metrics that you think investors want to see for the stage that you are raising funds for, make sure that you have your story together, your deck together, your metrics together, your data room ready, because as soon as some of those conversations start to progress, you want to make sure that you can turn around some of those questions that they will ask as fast as possible, because this will accelerate the process, but also it will give confidence to the investor that you are ready, right? So if every time they ask you for something, you take 2 weeks to answer, it's like, okay, is this company really in it, or what are they doing? And look, we all know that we are very busy, but in the end, well, we just have to be ready. And I would say that's the one that I would.
I think these are great advisors, because you really mentioned about the sales funnel. Also in the sales, if you take a lot to give the quote to the customer, they will lose interest. So it's the same with the investors, and be ready, earn their trust, and ask for more money and start very soon, no? At the end. So just to sum up, I would say, what would you say to the startup founders of the audience? What would be the advice to build a high growth startup? But I want that you say a must and a must not. So what you have to do and what you never have to do to build a company such as the one you have. So Cristina?
So I would say talk to customers, and through talking to customers, you'll know who you need to bring into the team, because that's what you need to then build for. And something that you shouldn't do is think that you know it all, or that all the knowledge is within the company, especially as the company starts growing. You want to make sure that you still have that focus towards the outside. So always talking to investors, always listen to the market, because otherwise at some point it just becomes like teams talking to teams, and then, okay, but who talked to customers here? Nobody. Then we don't have an answer yet. So let's just.
That's the must, and the must not?
Yeah, the must not is don't think that you have all the knowledge in house.
Okay, great. Álvaro?
Yeah, Alberto.
Ay, Alberto, sorry.
Yeah, the must would be think internationally. This is something that we did bad at the beginning, because we were focusing on Spain, which was the country and the market we knew. But the market globally is much higher, much bigger, so think internationally. And mustn't never give up. If you have product market fit, if you have a good team, you will suffer. That is true, that's a fact. But if you believe in your product, never give up.
Well, I agree with all what you said. Just to try to say something different, I would say that a must. When you start to scale, talent is the most important job or role of a founder, because you need to delegate, and you need to delegate into the best people possible, okay? And then treat well that team. Culture is super important, and in the end, the team is what really makes our companies so great, right? Because they are back there doing all the job. And what not to do, never lose the focus. So keep the focus on the important things. Today there are so many opportunities, there are so many things that startups and entrepreneurs can do, but we should never forget that customers are super important, the team is super important, talent is super important, fundraising is super important, and out of those set of things, probably the rest of things are not that important, so let's focus on
the important
good ones.
things.
Yeah.
Wow, we are running really out of time. I don't know you, but I would stay like 3 panels more listening to their tips. So just to conclude, I think never give up. I will take this sentence, never give up. You've seen they have a struggle before, but they are now here, they are succeeding. Things are never great, but they can become great if you are there, if you surround of the best people around you, the best talent. If you listen to what the market is saying, or your customers are saying, what your investors are saying, you don't have everything inside. So yeah, we have finished 0-0. That's the time to close. See you in another panel, and if not, I recommend you listen to podcasts from them, because they are really, really, really interesting, and they have really great stories. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Elena. But I believe someone told me that she wanted to take a picture with all of you. So do you
Yes.
think we're capable of doing this? Are you up to the task at this time in the afternoon? We can do it?
Yeah.
Think we can do it? Okay, so let's do this. You stand there.
Okay,
You
with
guys
you,
stand there.
with you, let's-
Everyone stand up, and to the
Okay.
count of 3, we raise our hands, okay?
Alex, come also.
Oh,
to,
no, no.
Oh,
I'm not the
yeah,
important
sure.
person here.
Everyone.
Okay,
up
to the
your
count of
hands.
3. Is everyone ready? Yes? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Valencia Digital Summit!
Woo!
Great applause
Thank
for
you
you.
very
Thank you
much.
very much, people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
Okay. And we are there. You're feeling the energy. We're nearly done. And now we have our super startups. So we have super judges that are going to be introduced in a second. I hope they're ready to rumble. Yes. So I'm going to leave you for the startup competition with at the very capable hands of a very good friend. She's as mean with time as I am, but as sweet as candy. So please welcome the moderator for the startup pitches. Big applause to Paloma Mas, event and cultural manager at Plug and Play. Big applause. Stage is yours, darling. Rock
Thank
them.
you. Thank you so much. Welcome finally to the karaoke party of Valencia Digital Summit. No, sorry, that's tomorrow. No, President? Okay, thank you. I mean, the only thing I'm begging, you have not, let me to introduce tomorrow's party, but if I can have the first song, I would really appreciate. So thank you so much, everyone, for staying here, for being here tomorrow. I'm Paloma. I'm part of the Valencia startup team, and also I'm part of Plug and Play. I know, I assume that you know what is Plug and Play. And this year we are super happy and super thrilled to be part of the startup competition, this important startup competition that is going to have 2 champions this year. We are going to have a champion on the seed stage, and we are going to have a champion on the growth stage. So it's going to be super excited. We have amazing, nice startups that are going to pitch here today, and they are going to impress us with their solutions, with their technologies, with everything that they are building. And for this really, really, really hard task, we have an amazing jury, a jury that is basically selected from each side of the world, each side of its country, its continent, a really international, a global jury that we are going to say hi by now. First of all, we have to say hi to our beloved president, Juan Luis Hortelano, president of Startup Valencia. Please, a big applause to Juan Luis. Juan Luis, only a quick question. How many times they have called you Jose Luis today?
maybe 4 or 5 times.
Maybe 4 or 5.
Only. But
It's fine.
Only a suggestion. You have to say representing Spain.
Oh,
this thing.
can we do it like a little bit
Yes,
Eurovision?
like Eurovision.
Oh my God. I'm such a huge fan of Eurovision that I'm gonna get like nervous at all. So from Spain, thank you so much, Juan Luis. So we have coming up from Argentina. Argentina is not participating in Eurovision, but it's fine. We get that. We accept that. Okay, coming up from Argentina, Federico Jack, investment partner, and Medellin, yeah, BC. Please a big applause for Federico. Rachel, your turn. Coming up from Amsterdam. Coming up from Amsterdam. Big partners that we're going to have here in Valencia. Please welcome Rachel Young, Program Manager and Program Director of The Next Web. Rachel, thank you so much for coming. And coming up from London, our London representative, Nelly Markova, Principal of Molten Ventures. Please a big applause for Nelly. And I think we're done. Oh, there's anything one missing? Ben, it's fine? Okay, perfect. So we are ready to go. Guys, I know that you're nervous. I'm as nervous as you, because there's nothing better than a pitch competition to finalize this first session and this first day at Valencia Digital Summit. So, gonna speak quickly. Startups are gonna come here, they're gonna pitch only 3 minutes, then we're gonna have 2 minutes of question and answers, and that's it. And as really well introduced me, I'm really sweet on the outside, really bitter on the inside. So if you go further than those 3 minutes or those 2 minutes, I'm basically coming up here and I'm gonna bring you down nicely, because I'm a really nice girl, but I'm gonna bring you down from the stage. So please try to keep the time. And let's start with the seed investment and the seed stage. So coming up from Castellón, our CEO and co-founder, Francho, from Arcadia Space, is going to start the first pitch. So, Francho, get up here and let's hear what Arcadia is doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paloma. You know what is the first reason why a satellite stops working? Because they run out of fuel. When you are using GPS, when you are checking the weather forecast, or when you are just watching a basketball game, there's a satellite out there that needs to move in space. And for that, it needs propulsion. Satellites need engines. But traditional engines are extremely expensive because of 2 things. First, they use very toxic and carcinogenic propellants, very difficult to manipulate, which makes the development and the operation of the engines extremely costly. But also, these engines have not suffered a major disruption in the last 40 years, and they keep using materials and advanced manufacturing techniques which are making these engines extremely costly for this new space era. So what do we do and why we are here? We are developing a new generation of engines based on 2 principles. First, new design with materials like ceramics, and also new advanced manufacturing techniques like 3D printing, but also the use of green propellants, hydrogen peroxide of high concentration. This, together with the fact that we can test the technology in our own testing facilities, can make these engines extremely cheap, reducing up to 60% the cost to traditional engines. This is the family of engines we are developing, and we provide high performance comparable to traditional engines, but at a fraction of the cost. And we're already testing the first product. The market is booming. Now we have rockets cheaper than ever, and the jury knows it. And we have a lot of satellites to be launched. And this is why there is a lot of propulsion systems to be sold. In fact, we estimate that the addressable market will be more than 1.1 billion by 2030. If you're a rocket company, you need to test your engines. We are the only private company in Europe having our own testing facilities, and we can have a much cheaper, a much faster development compared to our competitors. And also we can be faster in the go-to-market strategy. We design, we develop, and we sell the engines. We have already signed 7 letters of intent with potential customers. We expect to start selling already next year, to have a turnover of 80 million by 2030, and be in break-even already in 2026. And the most important asset of the company is the team. We were the first ones developing a liquid rocket engine ever made in Spain, back at the rocket company PLD Space. 6 years working together, 35 years of experience in companies like Airbus or myself, for example, in the European Space Agency, and with great advisors. We already have track record, national and international. We already got contracts with the European Space Agency and with the European Commission, among others. And here we are. Last year was preparation. We already raised more than 600,000 euros. This year, execution. We're already testing our first engines. And next year is demonstration. We will start the sales of the first product, and also we will fly the first product on first space. And for that, we're looking now for 1.5 million euros in equity round, and we are really looking forward to have you guys on board in this space journey. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's fine. We were missing only 2 seconds. We can't really accept that. So time for questions, my dear Jordi. Any question for Franco? Juan Luis?
Yes, can I know a bit more about the team? It was too fast for me.
The team, about the
The
team.
team.
Yeah.
The team, well, the team is amazing. Because, but it's true. I mean, there's no many teams out there that have done what our team did to develop from scratch a liquid rocket engine from zero to testing and qualification in very few time with almost no experience. So this is
How many
really
people
amazing.
are now in the team?
Today, how many we are?
Yeah.
We are 4 founders, and we are now expecting to be 8 by the end of the year. We're now hiring 4 people.
Okay.
Any extra question? Yeah. Do we have?
I have one.
Go on.
Yeah, so
Federico.
you talk about engines, but is it also propulsion systems for satellites or rocket engines? I get confused a little bit.
We actually simplify the message because it's very complicated to go into the details, but indeed the propulsion can be for all kinds of satellites and space vehicles and platforms, but also the same technology can be applied for the upper stages of rockets as well. So even we could sell to PLD or other micro-launcher companies like ESAR, and we're actually talking to them as well.
Thank you.
Super short last question. Anyone? Perfect. Franco, thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank you. So I see a few ones with your mobile phone. It's fine. Do me a little favor. Take your Twitter, hashtag Valencia WDS 2022, it's fine, yeah, hashtag. Okay, and tweet something, for example, wow, hi, nice, good looking, the moderator is today, I like a lot Arcadia Space, what, the finalists are amazing, the president, it's great, please invite me to a beer, whatever you prefer, but tweet, please, so that also you can see you in the screen that we have on the entrance. That would be also nice. And you can take a photo, so it's great. So let's continue with the second startup today. Coming up, Teresa Tarragó, CEO from Exeus, that is going to explain us what is Exeus doing. So, Teresa, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. If I ask you if you would like to live more than 100 years, I'm sure that you will say, yes, of course. But if I tell you that the last 30 years of your life you will be sitting in a wheelchair or you will be very much dependent, maybe you will change your mind. All of us, we like to live longer, but we want to stay healthy, we want to stay happy, we want to do what we really love. And if we want to do so, instead of increasing our lifespan, we have to focus to increase our health span. And to increase the health span, we had to start now, as soon as possible. But then, what can we do to increase our health span? Here is where Exeus can help you. At Exeus, we had created a health test that's based on artificial intelligence that measures the expression of your 22,000 genes. This test gives information about the health status, gives you a biological age score, gives information about aging and adaptation, and most importantly, is giving you personalized recommendations to improve your health span. We are working hand by hand with the healthcare professionals that are the ones that are prescribing our tests, that are recommending our tests, and also that are helping to the customers to understand the information and also to follow the recommendations that we give to the customers. And we have currently more than 20 associated centers all over Spain. We have partnerships with clinics, doctors, and also with distributors. And so we started commercialization just 6 months ago. The market that we are addressing is a really big market. So it's, aging is a growing market that will reach $120 billion by 2030. And also the population over 65 will triplicate by 2050. Regarding competitors, we are the ones that we are providing more information. As I told you, we are measuring the 22,000 genes. So we are giving lots of information, but also our information is more actionable. And also, we are the ones that provide more recurrence, since our tests can be done as many times during life as needed. Regarding to the team, we are a senior team. We have previous experience in startups. We have our CTO that has experience in AI. We have our CSO that is a key opinion leader in genetics. Also, our CEO has experience in marketing and commercialization. And myself, I've been the CEO of another startup before. I did an exit. And I have experience in science and also in management of startup companies. So we want you to live 100 years. But most importantly, we want you to live longer and better. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. You can stay here. Thank you, Teresa. Now it's time for questions. So, dear jury, there's one from Juan Luis Hortelano and from Nelly. Let's start with Nelly, if you are okay with that. Okay, Juan Luis? Nelly, go on. Okay, gonna translate because it seems that Mike is not business model and how you are. Okay.
Yes, our business model is a B2B2C model. So we work with medical centers, with doctors. We are starting to work with distributors. So we are not going to direct to consumers. So always the healthcare professionals are the ones that are prescribing the test or give the recommendations about the test. And also they are helping to the customer to understand the information. So we are growing through closing deals with medical centers. We are planning to go also to private insurance companies, and also for internationalization, we are planning to go through distributors.
Juan Luis.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to ask about the business model, but again, how does it work? So you get a DNA test and you give a report. Is there an app? How does it work after that? How much does it cost?
I haven't explained technically how it works, but it's not a DNA, it's an RNA test. So we are not looking at the DNA, we are looking at the expression of the genes. So it's, technically speaking, it's completely different. So we are giving the information about what really happens in the body, not probabilistic information. But how it works, we need a small piece of blood. Then from this blood, we sequence the expression of all the genes, and then applying our AI algorithms, we provide the personalized health reports. So we have a huge database of samples. These are really the anonymous samples, but we use this information to train the algorithm. So it's a kind of machine learning algorithm that is, as more samples, as we have, it's more trained and we can do better predictions.
And I, as a customer, do I get a report with some recommendations or some whatever?
Yes.
That's it?
How much? So you have the report, and then you can do the recommendations, and then you can do another test to see if you are improving, and you can do many tests during your life.
How much does it cost?
Yeah, it's for one test, it's around 350, 400 euros. This is for one.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. We are run out of time, but thank you so much, Teresa, for your time. And congratulations for being one of our finalists today. Who is called Levgen on Twitter? Is here, I know exactly who he... Thank you so much. You have my heart. Thank you for that tweet. I love you, man. Thank you, you rock. So, if you do the same, I would really cheer you up and say hi from the stage. No, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that tweet. So, we are gonna go into the third finalist today. Coming up, Hugo Mira from Mojito. Here we have him on stage. Hugo, good luck.
Thank you. So, do you like chess? I love chess. The world, like chess, is more and more complex, but technology should help us to simplify it. The chess games between Deep Blue and Kasparov highlighted the moment the computer surpassed forever the human ability and speed. And that's the vision we had just 2 years ago in Mojito 360. We believe that machines should do the automatic work and let people do the human work. Mojito 360 is an advanced platform where you can track international logistics in real time and connect all the agents involved in a single page, reducing these operation times in 80%. And this is a lot of time, knowing that 42% of the world GDP depends on maritime transport. If I tell you about Evergiven, you probably know the story. If you have already read the news, you will know that every time that COVID appears in a critical Chinese port, the global supply chain is going to suffer. Clearly, the world supply chain is very sensitive, and we at Mojito 360 believe that reducing uncertainty and taking control will be vital for large companies that want to lead their sectors in the coming years. Many companies with billions in turnover remain far from automating their processes, and yet have people receiving and sending more than 60,000 emails per year. Remember, we believe that machines should do the automatic work and let people do the human work. With Mojito 360, we improve 3 things in international logistics: the lives of these people, the efficiency of their companies, and the satisfaction of their customers. And you might be asking, well, what should I trust, Mojito 360? Well, our numbers and customers back this up too. We are currently working with top world-class enterprises like Costco, Kellogg's, Grupo Peñaflor, or Bodega San Miguel. And they all use Mojito 360 to put order into their chaos in Spain, Argentina, Mexico, and Colombia, giving us more than 50K annual recurrent revenue per year. So that is why we are about to close a 2 million investor round. Our vision is clear: a totally transparent logistics sector where everything and everyone is connected. To achieve this goal, we are the team, and the time is right now. Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing, Hugo. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Really great on time. Jury, any questions?
How does the tracking work?
What?
How does the tracking work?
I didn't understand you.
The tracking.
How do we do?
Yeah.
Because the software, we are integrating with the carriers, with Costco, MSC, Maersk, and we bring the data and put and offer this data out to our clients 3 times per day. We are not based in IoT, it's all in software. We are a SaaS B2B enterprise.
What's your main competitive advantage compared to other competitors?
Our main competitor has born in Silicon Valley. He's Project 44 and has like 800 million in funding. So they are not, our focus is LATAM. They are not in LATAM then and now. And our focus is to grow there, to be a big competitor in these countries and in these sectors.
Further questions, Jory? Okay, thank you so much, Hugo.
Thank you very much,
Good
Paloma.
luck today.
Thank you.
And well done. So I want to inform that I have new friends today on my Twitter account. I have to say hi to Paz, to Islam, and also to Javier. Thank you, my new beloved friends. Thanks for tweeting. And let's go and let's move into the last startup on the seed side. We are going to welcome Diego Ferreiro, CEO from Trevellar, and let's going to welcome him with a big, big applause. Wait a second, so I'm going to improvise. How are you doing? What a day, no? Amazing, the pitches, the speakers, like what a lovely place to be. Also, la ciudad de las artes y las ciencias, it's like a futuristic. Did you know that George Clooney came here to make a movie? And we came here, the Valencian people, to see him, like, wow, George Clooney. So, here you are, Diego. Thank you so much. I was just telling. You're missing.
No,
okay.
my clicking is missing. That would be nice.
Your clicking is missing. So, I can tell the story of George Clooney. Do you want?
Go
Okay,
for it.
so the Valencia people, we came here because it's George Clooney. he sells an espresso, please, like, of course. So we came here to see him in person. Not so impressive, but it's fine. He made a movie here, so it's fine. We love people that come here to make movies and to do a startup. So if you're thinking about getting and being an entrepreneur, come to Valencia, like the best place to be. No, Diego, best place to be?
Well, I'm from Galicia, so I know the pulpo is better there, but el paella is good here.
Oh my God.
I would say that.
Like not gonna talk about the fight between Galicia.
No, because the food is just better, right?
I mean, of course, like Santiago is great, but Valencia. Oh my God.
We'll leave it at time. We'll leave it at time.
Diego, but we are gonna tell the people, it's of course, please come to Valencia. Be part of the Startup Valencia Association. Super important to be part of it.
Help us.
Yeah, help us. Help us with your time, your ideas, anything will be welcome. I mean, we are only. I remember already when we did the first Startup Valencia Startup Digital Summit. It was 5 years ago. I was already presenter because I like a stage and a mic. What else can I do? And I was here. I remember we were a few people only, and guess that now we are 10K people more or less coming up here and see startups. So impressive the work that the Valencia startup team has done. Let's gonna talk about whatever, Diego. I'm so sorry
I think
about
I think they stole the clicker, so we'll have to figure it out.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into the stereotype that the Valencia people will like to solve. Not gonna get into that stereotype for sure. No. Okay. I mean, it's fine. We are gonna find it. It's like Wall-E. It's also to make a little bit of excitement here.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, of course. But I mean, things that I can say. Also, tomorrow we're gonna have really great speakers coming up here in the States. Also, today we have some side parties. Don't get too late, although this is Valencia, so we know what is going on in Valencia too. Oh, we have here okay, it's fine. So now, because he was here with me on stage, let's give a big applause to Diego Antrevellar. Let's go, Diego.
You said the name right. That's awesome. All right, let me start my pitch with a question. Is the energy we use in buildings significant? We'll give you the answer. 30% of building operations. The building operations accounted for 30% of global energy consumption last year. 30%. Now, how much of that do you think is wasted? Let me look at some data for you. In San Francisco, the occupancy rate fell to around 10% at the peak of COVID, slightly raised afterwards. You will expect the energy consumption to follow that line, right? Well, not only did energy consumption did not change at all, it actually increased, and we have 40% occupancy in buildings with more than 100% in pre-pandemic capacity. And you might say, well, didn't we have smart buildings that were supposed to solve all this with putting a bunch of sensors and making everything more efficiency? Well, the reality is there's a lot of friction when making an automation on a building. How to figure out what to do, what vendors to install, which sensors to install, call the vendors, install them, and if you get all of that right, you end up with a bunch of data silos that don't talk to each other. Data silo mess. This is where Trevellar comes in. We help automate the process end to end. Basically, from integrating with all of your devices, getting a digital asset from your building, to actually getting all the data flowing through one single source of truth. A common center where you control it all. We don't stop there. We basically, to increase efficiency, we add sources from the weather, real-time insights, real-time energy cost, user behavior. With all of that, we build machine learning models that generate actionable insights for the customer. So they tell them what to do. For example, hey, you should sublease floor 14 because you only used 5% capacity last quarter. So I've been talking a lot about data and sensors, but there's one big thing missing when it comes to buildings, which is people. Like, we don't just give answers, we don't just give numbers and data, we just give answers. Answers to people's questions that make them more efficient, that make them more, be able to save a lot of things. They can change the way they work, they can change the way they commute, they can change the way they decarbonize their world. That will make them effective. Why can we build this? Well, we've been at a leadership position both at Google and Salesforce for many decades, and we know how to execute at scale. Our business is SaaS and enterprise, 3 main use cases. As we get all the data flowing through our systems, we can actually improve the workplace, which means that we can save energy and insights and give insights, which means that we can actually improve the sustainability and decarbonize, reduce energy footprint. We are pre-airing our journey. We started this year. We raised our pre-seed. We are with active pilots with Fortune 500 companies in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we aim to get our product GA beginning of next year. And I'm going to leave you with a thought. Nest revolutionized the clunky old thermostat device by bringing proactive insights, energy savings, in a way that was delightful to use. They changed the way that we saw thermostats. They raised the bar. We can do the same for smart buildings. Thank you.
Galician quality.
That's the way. The food. Yeah. Come by to Valencia, but also Galicia to
Galician
get some
quality.
food.
So let's move into the questions from our jury. Any questions, guys, that you want to do to?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the pitch. Can you tell a little bit about the market? You know, how many competitors, where are you focusing right now, things like that?
Yeah, so a lot of competitors focus on a particular vertical. For example, building operations, particularly in commercial real estate. Our focus is really on enterprise. One, because it's where we have a network and a lot of, we know how they work. And also there's no holistic vision that just focusing on beyond the building itself, which is how my people work, how my environment works. That's what enterprise needs. It's about the wellness of their people, especially these days with COVID, energy, and all of the energy crises that are there. So there's not really a platform that can integrate with anything that's very verticalized. And most of our market is not really software people, it's basically their hardware or like legacy incumbents. So we think that we have a solution that can fit much better in the enterprise and scale from there to other sibling markets.
Any other question? Okay, good to go. Thank you so much, Diego, for your time, and thanks for waiting.
No problem.
Sorry about that. So let's move on into our growth side of this pitch competition. We are going to see 5 amazing startups that are going to introduce us the best of the best that we just found at the Valencia Digital Summit. And there's nothing better than Valencia choosing things, being honest. They choose me as a moderator here, so what I have to say about that. So we are going to meet for the first time Edgar Martinez, Business Development Iberia from Ariad Next by ID Now. It's Edgar ready to go? Okay, Edgar, welcome to the stage. And let's hear more about ID Now.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. ID Now, we are a platform from ID Proof. Our core business is digital trust, and our business model is B2B. What we are doing, we help to our customers to get more clients, everything that we want, get more clients. How we do? Our platform, based in artificial intelligence, can make verification of the ID of the potential customers in real time, and also can do proof of identity using biometric. We do cross-checking with the facial biometric with the ID, and we can be sure that this person is who is say this person. And also, but not less, we can do is a digital signature. So we follow the regulation in European IDES, and we can do legal binding document. So till now, the company was founded in Germany in 2014. Right now, we have more than 900 customers like BNP Paribas, Deutsche Bank, Cofidis. Also, right now, our platform can do this operation for more than 195 countries. So we can do this ID verification. And we have already presence office in Germany, France, Spain, Poland, Romania, and UK also. So until now, we merged with 2 most players. This is Ariadnext. This is a company like us, ID Now. This is a French company, and also with Identity TM. This is a special company in Germany doing something similar, but specialized in telecom companies. So we merge all these companies, and we get the best player in Europe right now to make ID proof. So that's what we are, and what we're doing is verifications ID. So you have one platform that it's followed all the regulation, European regulation, but also regulation country by country. So you want to go to Spain, you want to go to Germany, you want to go to France, you have to use only one single platform, our platform, that is certified country by country. You have the best, very choice for the user experience for the customer, because we are doing in real time. We don't spend minutes or hours doing these verifications. It's our platform doing in just few seconds. And it's amazing and outstanding platform for fraud prevention. So that's why several companies in like a financial sector are using also, but in different another industries. That's what we're doing right now. Thank you.
What a feeling, like when you're missing only 2 seconds, it's like, and I'm done. Very quick, let's go and let's move to the questions. Nelly, please.
So it's very exciting space, but also very competitive. So who do you compete with and how do you win?
Sorry?
It's very exciting space, but also very competitive. So who do you compete with and how do you win?
Yes, we have amazing competitors. It's amazing because actually we followed our competitors, like Jumion, for example, or Onfido. Jumion is from USA, Onfido is from UK, and this is maybe our main competitors. Our difference is that we have, everyone say now in technology, we have a platform. But for real, we have a platform. You have a single platform for do all your tasks about ID verifications. And I believe that is our big difference. And now that's the reason that we have all the customers that we have in just few years.
Do we have any other question? Okay, so we're Edgar, ready to go. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. So I was just wondering what would be the song that I would start tomorrow, the karaoke. I don't know, I'm not really sure if it should be like Alejandro Sanz song, like kind of like melodic, romantic thing, or more Daddy Yankee thing. I don't know. We are gonna guess with the team afterwards. But now, let's gonna move into the next startup. Let's gonna give a big applause, please, because you didn't cheer up Edgar, and that's really not. Let's cheer up, because we are missing the last sessions here, so we need your energy coming up here into the stage, and we are gonna say hi and welcome Giovanni Bernard, the head of sales of Be The Way. Please, the stage is yours. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. What is BizaWay? BizaWay is a solution for companies and employees to book business trips in one place and make it easier to book flights, hotels, trains, and cars with a centralized support for travelers and travel managers. But what exactly is the problem that we're solving? Business travel sometimes sucks. Why does it suck? Because historically, in the market, there are two existing channels to make reservations. The first one are travel agencies. And travel agencies have obsolete or sometimes even no technology. And these result in a very manual service. Sometimes, I guess, many of you have to send 7 or 8 emails to book one single trip. And this, of course, results in higher fees and hidden commissions. On the other hand, there are online platforms. I'm sure that many of you know these brands. These brands are really, really cool. They're good platforms. The problem is that they are B2C-oriented companies. And also, they are vertical specific, meaning that you have to use many of them to complete your reservations. BizaWay was born as a third channel, as a travel agency and an online platform in one place. So basically, what we're doing is combining the best of both worlds, so having the support and the centralization of a travel agency, and on the other hand, we're bringing the technology and UX of the online platforms. Then making it easier for companies, so for travelers, but also for travel managers that have automatic travel policy compliance, and the CFO that can have all the costs and control in one place. We're talking about a huge opportunity. Who traveled to be here for this event? With train, cars, flight? Okay, so business travel is not dead, okay? Even if COVID, of course, hit us hard, we're still talking about a huge opportunity. We're talking about a $1 trillion opportunity that moves more than $1 trillion all over the world and more than 300 billion in Europe alone. And we have been taking on this market steadily. So even considering COVID, we hit and we averaged more than 130% CAGR during these years. And also, we're very, very proud to lead the way in the sustainability of this segment, because we won the first travel management company to receive the B Corp, which is one of the highest standards in sustainability. But this is just the beginning, because our goal is very ambitious, and we want to achieve $1 billion in revenue in 3 years. And just to summarize the company in the latest seconds, We are more than 140 people. We raised more than 17 million euros to date, and we have 700 corporate clients. Some of them you can see up here. So from big pharmaceutical companies to scale-ups and startups present in this event. Thanks a lot, and ready for your questions.
Hi. I was just here behind you. So, questions from our jury. Rachel, please go ahead.
What's your main differentiator from amongst other B2B travel platforms?
Yeah, really good question. So our main differentiator, of course, is, first of all, is technology. So we use technology to make life easier, for instance, against our main competitors are, for instance, Amex GBT, Carlson Wagonlit, B2D Travel, so really huge companies that started as manual companies. And now they started investing in technology, but still they are cannibalizing their manual service because they still have a lot of reservations that are done manually. So the technology, of course, plays a big part in bringing a higher customer satisfaction, the UX, etc. But then I would say that the second differentiator is customer service. Our customer service is completely in-house, and we never externalized even part of it, because it's part of the value added that we bring to the clients. It's not just a staff function.
Really complete answer.
Yeah, another question.
Yeah, Federico?
What about the market? Are you focused in Europe or are you global already?
Good question. So right now we're mainly starting from Europe because the market is so big. Consider that just in Spain every year, even after COVID, there is an annual spending of more than 10 billion euros by Spanish companies. So right now we're still focused in continental Europe. So companies with HQs in Italy, Spain, and other European countries. But we are already giving global coverage because some of our clients have also headquarters in Asia, in LATAM, and in other continents. But we're starting from Europe and then leading from there the expansion.
Okay, so we're good to go. Thank you so much for your time and good luck. De nada, Bonico. We know that we say a lot of Bonico and Bonicas. Here for the foreigners, Bonico means like kind of like nice, sweet. It's kind of like I cannot define what is in English, but it's like really Bonico style, the one that defines us as Valencian people. But now it's time to welcome another startup of this growth state, or growth side, or growth. Let's say growth. Okay, so let's gonna welcome Ali Kutai Yarali, founder and CEO from Delivers AI. So it's your time. Welcome to the States. Please, a cheer up, please. My goodness, man, like these people, like they're tough. My goodness, like a little bit of cheering up. Ooh, we have a friend. Let's go.
Hello, I am Ali Kutai Yarali. I am the founder and CEO at Delivers AI. As Delivers AI, we are reimagining the local delivery. The market is growing in Europe and the UK. It's booming after the COVID lockdowns, but there is a lack of labor and there is also union problems for the online order platforms at the moment, and the costs are increasing day by day. We believe that connected autonomous vehicles makes the delivery network more efficient, safer, and better for the environment. Our product is autonomous delivery technology for online order platforms in sustainable cities. And we are working as B2B, and we are partnering with the online order platforms, traditional groceries, and also parcel companies, and they send the orders, and we already deliver more than 25,000 autonomous deliveries in Europe and the UK with 95% autonomy level of our technology. Our motivation is greener way to deliver, and as Delivers AI, we are also creating new jobs in the green technology in Europe and in the UK as well. Our business model, we are charging a one-time deployment fee, and afterwards we are charging per delivery fee up to 2-mile radius areas in sustainable cities, and also we are charging an out-of-home advertising fee if the customer is looking for fully branded robot. There are similar models in the US, but as Delivers AI, our focus is European and UK market, and also with our B2B business model and in-house autonomous vehicle technology, we are the most lucrative company for the European market. And we believe that the UK and Europe is better market because of the lower distances and also more congested city centers to be delivered on time. We are providing a technology for the online order platforms, and we can say that we are a full stack autonomous delivery service to provide the delivery robot, provide the technology, getting the permission from the city councils, and operate the fleets as well. And our robots we are doing vehicle agnostic technology, so we have our model in here as you see, but also we are working with any kind of potential vehicles and robots globally as well. So as Delivers AI, one of our mission also to create a legal and engineering framework for the autonomous mobility networks, and with 2 founders, with the 40 team of the engineers in the UK headquartered and also in Turkey as well. So we have also great partners like EIT Urban Mobility and also Department for International Trade in the UK as well. And as Delivers AI, we are raising £7 million to deploy more than 1,000 robots following year. And this is the time for the autonomous delivery for the European cities. Thank you very much for your listening. Happy to hear your questions.
Really, really well done. So now it's time for the questions of our beloved Jordi. Oh, wait. He wants to tell us something? Are you ready? I mean, we are doing Inspiring the Good Future, and you're delivering the future, so just like any type of relationship over there. It's cute. Maybe I bring some home. So, questions, Federico?
Yeah, it's just a question about the product itself. It's something that you have designed and you also manufacture. How's that process? Can you tell me a little bit?
Actually, our technology is vehicle agnostic outdoor sidewalk technology. But as Delivers AI, since our technical team is in Turkey also, there is a great infrastructure for the contract manufacturing. So this is our model, but we are not pushing our customers to choose just one model. So we are okay for them, since they are financing the manufacturing costs of the robot, which means that we are just providing the technology and charging a monthly mobility as a service fee for the customers.
The operation work? So is it like just in the part of the cities, or can you apply it in the entire city?
Actually, first we decide the location with the customers, and we prefer public spaces. We don't want to operate in the more university campus or relaxed areas. And after we choose the location, our team is mapping the area, and after the mapping, robot is able to move autonomously. But in the operational side, robot is moving autonomously, but we have teleoperation center as well. So this team is tele-assisting the robot if there is unexpected condition. And we have also franchisee style local operators in each country. So they are handling the maintenance or any vandalism issues or incidents happening in the city. But of course, the vision is to expand the city as much as possible with the higher number of the robots and replace the gasoline powered vehicles.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We are missing 10 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Woo! Wait a second. You can take this. Or I can start to sing. No, okay, it's fine. We need to keep rain one day more. Thank you. Okay. So, let's gonna move into the 4th startup of today. Coming up, Moises Barbera, founder and CEO of Drill Surgeries. Is Moises ready to go? Moises, the stage is yours. Please, a big applause to Moises.
I grew up around medical technology my whole life. My dad worked for a medical equipment company. I grew up around hospitals. And I knew the name of most medical prosthetics before I was 10. He worked long hours, but loved his job. The desire to improve patients' lives through his work was exciting, inspiring. And it shaped my childhood. Eventually, I graduated with a master's in physics from the University of Liverpool, and I developed artificial intelligence algorithms at CERN in Switzerland or JP Morgan in the UK. Interesting roles, But this didn't fulfill me. Neither the money-oriented banking world or the slow-paced academia could match the passion that I have for healthcare. And it's that passion that pushed me to launch Drill Surgeries. Like my father, I too wanted to improve medical procedures. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to save lives. That's why I'm so excited today to present to all of you our first technology, Tauri. A first-of-a-kind, mixed reality surgical guidance system to improve accuracy in 10 million surgeries every year, focused at fixing broken bones. Our technology improves patient outcome and it reduces radiation by 75%. It reduces operating time by 75%, radiation by 60%, and overall trauma to the patient. So we can reduce costs to hospitals and recovery time to patients. We're a team of 5 PhDs, doctors, and commercial experts, along with a long list of medical advisors from vice presidents of trauma of big medtech companies to former chairs of the NHS in the UK. We have the right team, and we are first to market to disrupt this $10 billion a year addressable market. Of course, many people could say that our potential competitors could be big medtech companies. At the end of the day, they are the big players, but they are so focused on building medical equipment that they fail to provide reliable surgical guidance systems, or any surgical guidance system for that matter. That's why we take advantage of this competitive advantage and we transform potential competitors into prospective clients by leveraging our partnership-based business model. We have secured £500,000 from the UK. We have arranged a medical institute and a flagship hospital for trials next year. Drill Surgeries gives a chance to doctors around the world to provide safer and faster surgeries. And when we enter the market through this first surgery, we have a plan in place to expand and cover 100 million surgeries by 2030, a $50 billion addressable market. That's us. Thank you.
Well done, well done. Just perfect in time, so let's move into the questions. Yuri, any questions that you want to do right now? Rachel, please go on.
You introduced it as a mixed reality product.
Yes.
Could you tell a little bit more exactly about the product in terms of where the software comes in versus the hardware?
Definitely, that's my favorite. Thank you. So, thanks to my technical expertise, as long as my team's expertise in AI, we have developed an artificial intelligence algorithm, which is then licensed to companies, and this one is run on a mixed reality headset. The beauty of this is that nowadays surgeons can only rely on X-rays to know where to operate a broken bone. So they can spend up to 2 hours relying only on X-rays. Our mixed reality headset, thanks to this software, maps the whole operating room, recognizes the exact point where this surgery is taking place, and thanks to these 6 cameras and the LiDAR sensors incorporated, builds 3D models of whatever is going inside of the patient's leg or arm, giving them 3D views of everything without radiation.
Juan Luis.
You said you don't have competitors, right?
Sorry?
You said you don't have competitors.
I'm saying that our potential competitors, these are those creating surgical guidance systems for the surgeries that we are tackling, in this case femur, don't have a reliable method. Their system relies on electromagnetic systems, which pushes surgeons to retrain the whole operating procedure, which they have already spent 15 years training for. And it doesn't work because it interferes with radiation. It's a highly radioactive environment. Yeah. So while they published this 15 years ago and there has been no adoption by the market after 15 years, we can come on board and offer their competitors a solution, or these same companies the solution that they have failed to provide.
Okay. Do you have any patents or any?
Yes, we do. Okay. We have currently 1 patent, and by May 2023, we will have a portfolio of 4. We're drafting them at the moment.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are good to go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you. Really appreciate your time. And good luck, of course. And let's move on into the last one. There's no more startups to go. We are only waiting for one. So we are really, really happy and welcome here to the stage Eric Sanchez, CEO from Rental Token. Eric, the stage is yours. Please, the biggest applause because it's the ending startups of today.
So hello, everyone. In the next 5-10 years, we're going to live a financial revolution. We're going to live the largest exercise of financial inclusion ever, and rental is going to be part of this. Our mission is that everybody from everywhere can invest in real estate with just 2 clicks. Please raise your hand if you have invested in real estate. I think more people have invested, of course, but look like easy. A lot of people invest, but it's not as easy as you see. We have detected 3 main problems. First one, you need to have a high ticket to invest. Second one, it's not easy to find a good opportunity to renovate, to rent, and to do the management. And third one, it's not easy to get your money back. It's not a liquid market. So we have solved all those problems. You can invest for 100 euros, check. You can do a passive investing, because we're in charge of everything, check. And it's a liquid market, thanks to DeFi, to the decentralized finance. So it's the perfect combination to the perfect investment. You can invest wherever you want, you get monthly dividends, you can disinvest wherever you want, and you do nothing. But there is more. Thanks to DeFi, to decentralized finance, you're going to be able to ask for a loan, for a mortgage, with just 1 click. That's a game-changer feature. The business model is really simple. We find a good opportunity, we renovate, we tokenize, so we allow everybody to invest with us from 100 euros, and after, we rent, we pay monthly dividends to all those investors, and we sell, and we pay capital gains to those investors. And of course, we get the fees on the process. The market, everybody knows, real estate is the biggest market in the world. As Boston Consulting Group estimates that by 2030, 16 trillions are going to be tokenized. So we're focused on Spanish-speaking population. So our TAM, our SAM, our SOM has big numbers, are really big numbers, so the opportunity is huge. So now we're talking about the future, but we're going to talk about what we have already done. We have more than 8,000 users from more than 55 countries, because there is no border if you put this product on the market. And in less than 2 years, we have leaders in Spain and in LATAM in user and investment. Estamos en España, estamos en Miami, estamos en México. Sorry, speaking Spanish, but it's the same thing that happens to our users, to the LATAM users and LATAM investors. The only competitors are from the United States, and of course they don't speak the language and they don't have the same culture. So it's a big opportunity for us to open the market, to speak the same language, and it's a huge market. So we are focused on LATAM in this case. About the team, much better team than the other that we saw before. No, joking, of course. I'm very proud of my team, serial entrepreneurs, founder of Checking, of Tutelus.com, and ex-CEO of Codere, and a high motivated team that is here with me, that very proud of them. There is a new generation outside, a new generation that doesn't invest like their parents, doesn't work like their parents, doesn't live like their parents, and of course they're not going to invest like their parents. And rental is here from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eddie, for your time.
I saw you.
No, I mean, it was only 7 seconds ahead. It's fine, it's fine. So, time for questions. Our dear jury, any questions for rental? No? What? That's amazing. Oh my God, I mean, really
was
great.
good explained or was no?
Well explained, no, you're okay. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Eddie, thank you so much for your time. So, thank you. Big applause for Eric. I mean, we are ready to go. Now our beloved jury is gonna really go and see the final votes. And we are gonna announce, no, we are not gonna announce it today. We are gonna announce it tomorrow as part of the final event that we're gonna do at Valencia Digital Summit. And let me explain you one quick thing, guys. Tomorrow we're gonna have an amazing journey here. We are gonna have amazing speakers coming up. We are going to see great topics, great ideas. We're going to talk about the future of a bunch of things. And we are going to have a great ending, a really great party that the beloved people of Valencia Digital Summit has prepared for us. Let me finish with a story that happened just right now. I mean, Valencia Digital Summit is for everything. It's for matching startups, for matching investors. We start up, corporates, we start up, corporates with investors, but also families. So please, I'm going to ask you, everyone, to give me a big applause because my uncle just came here to see me. Mi tío acaba de venir a verme por primera vez en 11 años. Así que... That's the thing. I mean, my family don't see me, so my family had to come here to Valencia Digital Summit. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Alex finish this amazing day today. So, Alex, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Wasn't she awesome? Was she awesome or not? Come on. That was fantastic. I'm not going to take any more of your time. We're at the end of the session. Several reminders before we leave. Tomorrow we start at 10 a.m., so it's pretty late. You can go, drink yourself silly, and come back and be okay tomorrow morning. I would please ask you to be in time because it's really disturbing for the people that are coming here really early in the morning. It's not early in the morning, so it's 10. To have enough people here to follow them. That being said, you have free beers all the way outside there, sponsored by two great companies, DAM, beer company, and Climate Coin. So you have to thank them and to see what Climate Coin is actually doing. And so you remember what they do. I'm going to say it in Spanish because it's awesome. Dentro video. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
It's all about who we are. We are animal, breath, earth. We are technology, progress, and development. We are two worlds in one, extremes that can't coexist. Until today, meet Climate Coin. Climate Coin is the world's first regulated digital carbon asset.
And the first climate cryptocurrency.
In line with the planet and future generations.
Our goal is to unleash a global investment movement to neutralize and reverse Earth's climate threat, achieving climate balance. The Green Climate DAO is the organizational umbrella that leverages two crypto assets. Climate Coin is the crypto that represents high-quality carbon credit. Climate-T is the governance token. In the Climate Coin ecosystem, it is possible to tokenize carbon credits and incorporate them into sales for anyone
wanting to generate a positive impact
on the environment and on the fight against climate change.
Credible and impactful projects across the world will be funded with the help of the Climate Coin CliFi ecosystem.
This is a wake-up call
for both idealists and investors.
Finally, a way to reconcile your future
with the future of the planet.
Meet Climate Coin.
Climate balance, once and for all.